Hi, everybody.
Hi,
I am Step,
I'm Tams.
and this is Card Advantage, and we are here on this rainy Easter Monday to review Shadows over Innistrad.
Set you've been hoping for a long, long time.
Yeah. It's kind of a birthday present from Wizards to me.
Yes. You didn't get to draft it the first time it came out? Like the first Innistrad?
No, I
What?
have drafted Innistrad. I've drafted Dark Ascension Innistrad twice.
Right,
on Mitgo.
which you can find if you go through our videos.
Yeah, we did terribly, but it was fun.
So fun. So fun.
So I have been looking forward to Innistrad, a return to Innistrad for a long time because I love gothic horror.
This looks like a good one.
We're both kind of horror nuts.
Yes, this looks really juicy, so...
So, this is our second set review. So for those of you who didn't check out our Oath of the Gatewatch set review, there are a few things you should note. We are going to do the standard A through F rating for the cards that you know from other Magic reviewers, but we're also going to put our spin on where we think you should draft it. Like whether it's a first pick, whether it's something to pick up on the wheel, you know, because that's far more useful for drafting than a simple letter grade. Also, this is a limited set review. We are primarily limited players, and so that's what we want to spend the majority of our attention on. We'll make notes if we say, you know, certain cards might make it into our wacky commander decks, certain 13 related cards, but we'll get there. And what else do we need to say?
That it could be, at looking at first blush, that we could see the return of the hat draft.
That's true. Very true.
This art is fantastic.
Some of the art's fantastic. Some of the art is
Terrible.
outright weird.
Yeah.
But we're going to enjoy it all as we go through it, and today we're going to do the commons and uncommon creatures. So, without further ado, let's just hop right in. Apothecary Geist
Alright.
is our first creature. It is 3 and a white for a common spirit. It's a 2/3 with flying, and when it enters the battlefield, if you control another spirit, you gain 3 life. So this is kind of like, what was it, Courier Griffin in Origins, I think? Or wherever it was.
But this one
maybe
could be
for
even
Zendikar?
better because of its type.
Could be better, could be worse. Have we seen any spirit synergy so far?
Yes.
Okay.
There's definitely a spirit deck out there.
Okay. So good to know that there are spirits mostly in white and blue, although I think there are a couple of black ones too. So a 2/3 with flying for 4
It's okay.
is okay. If you control another spirit, you gain the life. If you don't, it's just a 2/3 for 4. So, I don't know. What do you think of that?
I gave it a C.
I gave it a C too. It's just sort of
I did
not
amend
bland,
that
but
if you were in a strong spirit deck,
yeah.
it could become a B-
Okay.
because it's, you know,
I
it
don't know
does
if I'd
have that.
put it that high, but maybe a C+.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
If you have a bunch of spirits, it obviously goes up. But if it's the only spirit in your deck, you'd still play it.
Yeah,
It'd be a
absolutely.
C- or a D+, but you'd still play it.
It's still fine. Yeah.
So, C for Apothecary Geist. And I also love the name.
Yeah.
Abyssinian Missionaries.
Okay.
This is the first of our flip cards. No, sorry, not flip cards. Transformation cards.
Right.
Abyssinian Missionaries is 3 and a white, another 4-drop, for an uncommon creature, Human Cleric. Now, do we have any human synergies?
Yes.
Yes.
There is human stuff going on.
There are at least equipment specifically for
there's
humans.
definitely human shenanigans.
And that's a throwback to the fact that the original Innistrad was very tribal. There was a spirit deck, there was a humans deck, there was a vampire deck, there was a zombies deck. Yeah, there were very much racial tensions in Innistrad.
This set, I think, is going to be fairly archetypal as well.
Yeah. So we've got a 3/3 for 4.
That's all right.
What do you think of that?
Meh.
I like 3/3 for 4. Like
Yeah, fine.
that's your standard price.
Yeah,
right?
when it becomes a 3/3 for 3, you go, ooh.
Right.
So yeah, this is
So it also transforms at the beginning of your end step. If Abyssinian Missionaries is equipped, there's the humans and equipment sub-theme. Transform it. So it transforms into Lunarch Inquisitors, who are a human cleric as well, but now they're a 4/4. And when this creature transforms into Lunarch Inquisitors, you may exile another target creature until they leave the battlefield.
Ooh.
So you've got your Banisher Priest kind of thing going on. And they become a 4/4. So from a 3/3 to a 4/4, and all you have to do is have it equipped with something. How easy is it going to be to equip them, do you think?
Well, I've peeked ahead and looked at the equipment, and there's some really good stuff for a change, and there's some cheap stuff as well. So I think it's going to be relatively... I think you have a pretty good chance of getting something to equip on your dude if you decide to draft this card.
If it were me, I'd say pick this up early and then look for some good equipment.
Yeah.
But even if you don't have any equipment, it still makes the cut.
Absolutely.
It's a 3/3 for 4. That's
Yep.
fine. So I gave this a B-.
I gave it a C, and then I would bump it up to a B- or a B if you get some sort of equipment.
All right.
So yeah, we're about the same.
Cool. Cathar's Companion.
All right, let's start first by talking about the art. The giant elephant in the room.
I don't mind the art.
His face is mutated. It looks like a human dog thing.
There was a techno-electronic video from, I don't know, the mid-90s by Basement Jacks that had a human head on a dog's body, and this
Reminds you of it?
reminds me of that.
I was trying to place, and it wasn't until I just said that, what it is that wigs me out. It looks kind of like a half-human face.
It does, doesn't it?
And being white, I would expect it to be a noble Doberman-looking, regal, sleek,
Yeah, you don't get a
graceful-looking
lot
dog.
of graceful in Innistrad unless you're a vampire.
Apparently not, because that is some kind of ugly dog.
All right, so
But
Cathar's
how's the
Companion.
card?
2 and a white for a common hound.
Okay,
It's a 3/1.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Nice
Whenever
and
you
aggressive.
whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it gains indestructible until end of turn.
Oh, that
Now-
makes them pretty good.
Yeah. I don't usually have more than 5 non-creature spells in my deck, maybe 7. So I don't see that coming into play much. I mean, it works very well with combat tricks. But just having a 3/1 for 3, I don't know. It's fine. It'll trade sideways.
Yeah.
If it were 2, I'd put it very high on my list. But as a 3-drop, I just have it at a straight C.
I gave it a C+, because you don't see indestructible at common very often. And this is one of those
That's
cards
a point.
that you can... I don't want to say I wouldn't build around the card. I don't think I'm going to build around the common. But you pair it with blue if you're running a spirit deck and you need, your extra... Because you're not going to have entirely all spirits. And suddenly you have a lot more... because you're probably going to be running bounce and counter spells and stuff like that. You suddenly have more...
I see it more paired with red, where you get into combat, they block it with something, you shock another blocker, and
Absolutely.
suddenly this is indestructible.
And we've already peeked ahead, and there is some amazing red combat tricks in here.
There are. It's true.
So I think this is going to be one of those cards that does a lot of work that you're not going to expect it to do. It's going to become the thorn in my side, I'm sure.
Okay.
Because
Well,
I can see a certain player at the shop who has a thing for red and white. Steve, I'm looking at you.
so where would you pick it?
That's a good question.
See, I'd pick it up on the wheel.
Yeah?
Like, I don't think I'd pick it 5th to 7th I think I'd pick it in the second part of the pack.
For me, I think it depends on which pack we're talking.
Okay, fair enough.
Because if I'm already if I open pack 1 and this is in my first pack, I'm not going to pick it first pick.
Right.
I'm probably not going to pick it first pick in a second.
So let's
pack,
base that on pack 1 then.
Okay. If I'm already in white and I think I'm going to be going white-red, I would probably pick it around 5th or 6th.
Okay.
So
a little higher than me. That's
probably.
All right.
But if I'm not in those colors already, then it certainly drops. But again, it's a 3-1. If you put it in a red-white deck, which is going to be traditionally aggressive, a 3-1 is really good.
Okay. Moving on. Dauntless Cathar is another 3-drop, 2 and a white for a human soldier at common, and she's a 3/2. Mm-hmm. So a 3/2 for 3 excites me a little bit more, because that at least has a little bit of durability. But she's also got an ability. 1 and a white, and exile her from your graveyard. Put a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying onto the battlefield. Activate this ability only when you would cast a sorcery. I like that a whole lot.
I rather like her. She's good in the early game. She's aggressive. And later in the game, you can use her as a chump, or if you need to sack or something. And
They have changed this a little bit from Innistrad. In Innistrad, there were creatures that when they died, you got a spirit. Now, this is a common ability. You exile them from the graveyard and get the spirit or the zombie or whatever it is that they make.
Yeah.
And I like it. It adds utility to the card. It gives you a little extra.
Yep.
But not too much.
What I like is that she's really versatile.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool with the madness, and which we'll get to those mechanics as we go. And the delirium deck, getting stuff into your graveyard is good, so chumping with her, and then you still get a 1/1.
Yeah.
So
later.
Yeah.
So I put her at a C+.
Yeah, I said C, but I talking about her, I definitely think she sits in the C+ range, even though she's a common.
Yeah. I would also pick her a little higher, probably 5th to 7th.
Yeah, I could see that. She's pretty good.
Possibly even higher. I don't know.
Anything that gives you another creature at some point is
very useful.
Is valuable.
Yeah, and a flyer.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Devilthorn Fox.
I would like to start by saying I really like the art.
Yeah?
I like that fox.
I like that there's a traveler in the background, so he seems to be like the advanced guard.
Yeah.
So Devilthorn Fox is 1 and a white for a common fox. He's a 3/1.
Yeah.
This is a functional reprint of Oriskos Swiftclaw,
which we drafted a fair amount.
Yeah, I tend to like 3-power 2-drops. Probably more than I should, but if it's on an empty board, they swing in for a lot of damage.
This trades up really well.
And it trades up
There's
well.
a lot of bears in this set that matter, and this trades with them really well.
So I put this at a C+.
I put it at a C.
And in a really stinky pack, I would first pick this, but that's probably my bias. Usually I'd pick it up 5th to 7th, possibly 3rd or 4th. You know, it's a fine card.
Yeah, and I like the art. It's pretty.
Emissary of the Sleepless is 4 and a white for a common spirit. It's a 2/4 flyer. So as a 2/4 flyer for 5, that's probably about right. It's not great, but it's not
It has
bad.
a big butt, which is cool for a flyer.
Yes. When Emissary of the Sleepless enters the battlefield, if a creature died this turn, that used to be called Morbid, if a creature died this turn, put a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying onto the battlefield. So you're getting your 3/5 for 5, basically, if a creature died.
Yeah.
Across 2 bodies. I like this quite a bit. It's going to take a little bit, but not too much finagling to get a creature to die.
There is also flicker effects in the set, which I was reading a bunch of comments and people talking about spirit craziness, some shenanigans going on with flickering, being able to get, because there is a lot of sack in this set as well, especially in white black. So it makes it a lot easier to get that creature.
Okay.
So it could be even better than we think it is now.
So right now I have this at a C+, but that could go up or down very easily. I would probably pick this up 4th to 6th in the pack, but I would be wary about a 5th drop that early. If there was anything lower cost that was just as good, I'd pick that first.
Yeah, for sure.
But probably before the wheel.
Yeah, I could see that.
Inquisitor's Ox is 3 and a white. Did you rate that last one?
C.
C. Inquisitor's Ox is 3 and a white for a common ox. It is a 2/5. So 4 for a 2/5.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It has Delirium, and Delirium says if you have 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard, Delirium happens. And the card types are creature, enchantment, instant, sorcery, planeswalker, land, tribal, artifact.
Yeah.
I always think of artifacts as enchantments.
I know.
So that doesn't count like creature type ox or legendary.
You gotta think broader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super types and subtypes don't count, but card types, regular card types do. So if you have, say, an enchantment, an artifact, a creature, and a land in your graveyard, you get Delirium, and in this case, it gets +1/+0 and Vigilance.
Yeah.
I like that. I'm not sure about the price. It seems very fair.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I care
I gave
about
it a C.
fair.
It's fine. You generally are going to put not always, but frequently you're going to put a big-butted creature in your deck.
Yeah.
And 4 mana for him is fine. And if you get the upside, then you have a 3/5 for 4.
Yeah.
And that's really good. So
I'd probably
good.
take this on the wheel.
Yeah.
But I might be a little down on that.
in pack 3, if I've already built and I have the framework for a really good Delirium deck, I'm going to pick it a little higher because then you've got the big butt and you know you're going to get the...
Well, pack 3, you don't... I mean, the rating system sort of goes out the window at that point.
For sure.
Because you're looking at curve considerations and...
Yeah.
But
I'm
yeah.
going to be more prone to take it. But it's fine.
I put it also at a C. It's just fine. I really like the art, though. He's hauling a guillotine.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Inspiring Captain is 3 and a white for a common human knight. And he's a 3/3. So a 3/3 for 4, that's fine. And when Inspiring Captain enters the battlefield, creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. I like it.
Yeah, he's good.
I put that at a C+.
I gave him a C.
Yeah.
I think you want one.
I think you definitely want one in a humans deck, or a tokens deck of any kind.
For sure.
Not much more to say.
Yeah, that's something you're going to find a lot in this review, and I think for anybody looking at the set, is there's going to be this little side thing of, but if it's in
this deck, or
this
that
deck, we're already being able to see what the deck types are going to be.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that makes it kind of interesting.
Militant Inquisitor is 2 and a white for a 2/3 common human cleric, and it gets +1/+0 for each equipment you control. So 2/3s for 3 are already like a C- a D+, which is fine.
Yeah.
If you are looking for equipment anyway, picking one of these up is good.
Yep.
A 3/3 for 3 or a 4/3 for 3 is super good. And you don't even have to have the equipment equipped to her.
Nope.
You just have to have it.
Which is, I think that's going to make a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
I already feel that this cards like it, are going to be better than they would have been in previous sets. Because we've had cards like this in previous sets, and they've been unplayable unless the mana to toughness and attack was decent.
Yeah.
But the extra text was unplayable because there just wasn't anything worth equipping. But
I'm
this
really
time,
hoping on a constructed equipment deck.
that'd be really cool. A standard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A standard constructed.
There's some, we'll get there, but there's some really interesting things. So
Yeah.
I think this could be better than. I gave it a C minus.
I have her at a straight C.
I think if you're gonna get the equipment, it's gonna go up. Just go up from there.
Yeah.
But it's fine. I would put one in my deck.
As compared to, what was it, the 3/1 for 3? The Cathar's Companion that gains indestructible. I think this is better, but
I think if you don't have equipment, it's not better. If you do, it is.
okay. They would trade in a fight anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Moorland Drifter is 1 and a white for a creature spirit at common, and it's a 2/2, so it's a bear.
So already it's a C.
Yeah.
Because it's fine. Does it do anything?
If you have Delirium, it gains flying, so it's a 2/2 flyer for 2.
Pretty good.
Now, you're not going to have that 2/2 flyer on turn 2.
No, this is later. That's why I kind of like this card, because it makes it better in later game.
Yeah, it's not so good that you'd hesitate to trade it off early.
Not at all.
But if the game goes on, it suddenly gives a little bit of utility to your 2-drop, which doesn't matter anymore.
Yep.
So I like it. I put down a B minus, but I don't know if it's that good.
I gave it a C.
I give it a C plus. Yeah.
The art is lovely too.
Mhm.
It's really pretty.
Most of the spirits are gorgeous.
Yeah.
Near Heath Chaplain.
All right. What does he do?
He's 3 and a white for an uncommon human cleric, and he's a 3/1. So that's not a very good rate. But he's got lifelink. That's getting better.
Yep.
And for 2 and a white, and exiling him from your graveyard, put 2 spirit tokens onto the battlefield. So that's pretty good.
I think he's pretty strong. I think you have to look at everything together.
He comes down as a 3-power creature. He gains you 3 life and dies.
And probably takes out whatever you're
blocking.
Yeah.
Or whatever is blocking him.
Yeah.
Even if it's a trade down. Like, he trades with a 1/1, but he's still gaining you 3 life, and then you can pay 3 and get 2 1/1 spirits. I think that's really good. I put him at a B minus.
I gave him a C plus.
So, yeah, C plus, B minus.
He's pretty
I'd
good.
also pick him fairly highly, I think. Probably 4th to 6th.
Yeah.
Maybe higher if there was nothing in the pack, but he's not a bomb, but I think he's
pretty strong.
doing a lot.
He does some work.
Yeah. Paranoid Perish Blade.
Paranoid Perish Blade. Now that's a mouthful. What does he do?
2 and a white for a human soldier at uncommon, and it's a 3/2, so another 3/2 for 3.
It's a human. That
It's a
could
human.
matter.
And if you have Delirium, he gains +1/+0 and has first strike.
That's pretty sweet.
So you'd be a 4/2 for 3 with first strike.
Later game, that's
Not bad.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. I'd probably give him a C+. I wouldn't look to pick him up early, but I wouldn't be sad about picking him up early either. I definitely want one in the deck.
Yeah. He's pretty cool.
seems like there are more playable 3-drops than 2-drops so far, but
what's kind of interesting is you're seeing that these cards that really traditionally find their home in really aggressive decks, and then late game they become chump blockers or not what you want to top deck. They have a lot more utility. So I think that's kind of, so they might be wanted in more a variety of decks, which I think is kind of interesting.
Looks like they're heading straight to the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pious Evangel.
Shall we start by talking about the artwork?
This is one of those really weird art.
It totally
things.
reminded everybody that I've seen comment of the priest from Princess Bride.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So 2 and a white for another uncommon human cleric. It's a 2/2. So 2/2 for 3. Meh. Whenever Pious Evangel or another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. That's not bad.
Sweet.
That's already pretty good.
But
and then
it does more.
you can pay 2, tap, and sacrifice another permanent. So that can be a clue, a land, another creature, and transform him. And he transforms into Wayward Disciple, who looks like something right out of a Lovecraft story.
Yep.
Whenever Wayward Disciple or another creature you control dies, target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. And he's a 2/4. That's pretty good. A 2/2 for 3 that gains you life is fine. A 2/4 that drains your opponent is even better.
I like him.
I put him at a C+, but he could be even higher.
I gave him a C, but I think you're right. I think he probably is more like a C+.
Okay.
The one thing is he does belong in a specific 2-color deck.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, because you don't need a second color.
Yeah, I guess not. I'm thinking Commander.
Right, you're thinking Commander, but
because we were talking about him in Commander.
I think he'd go in blue, black, white, blue, white, black, or white, red, just fine. Maybe even white, green if there's a white, green deck.
Because I guess you don't need to interact with the black of his flip.
No, it's just something that happens to him.
Yeah. So in a Commander deck, you would have to be playing a black, white something.
I believe so.
Yeah.
I believe so.
Interesting.
If it were Commander. But in draft, you can just draft him.
Stick him in.
So I'd pick him fairly highly. I like him. I might be biased, but I'd say 3rd to 5th.
I would pick him more highly. He's also an uncommon.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, he's a good guy.
Reaper of Flight Moonsilver.
Oh, that's interesting. We're going to have to give him a name.
She's our first angel.
What's a she? I see.
I think she's a she.
It's hard to tell from here.
She is 3 white. That's our first double white for an uncommon angel. And she's a 3/3 flyer. So 3/3 flyer for 5, that's pretty typical.
Middle of the road.
But if you have Delirium, you can sacrifice another creature to give her +2/+1 until end of turn. So she'd become a 5/4 flyer, which is really decent. I don't know if you're going to have 4 different card types in your graveyard by turn 5, but
I would like to point out something that occurred to me as I was looking at her. Assuming you get Delirium, this is a sack outlet in white.
Yes, absolutely.
Which is kind of interesting.
A sack outlet, which would work very well with our friend Pious Evangel once he flips.
Yep.
Or any number of other things that I'm sure we'll get to.
Yep.
He could even, or she could even turn on the card that's not morbid, but if a creature died.
Yep.
Is that the Moorland Drifter? I think so. So I like her. I put her at a B minus. I think she's solid, even if you don't have delirium, and then if you have delirium, she's excellent.
Yeah, so I put her at a C simply because I'm unconvinced of how easy it's going to be to get that delirium.
Okay.
But I think she probably sits at a C plus. A 3/3 flyer for 5 is generally pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And then with upside.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. Spectral Shepherd is 2 and a white for a 2/2 flyer.
Which is good.
It's an uncommon spirit. And if you pay 1 and a blue, return target spirit you control to its owner's hand. So that's the self-bounce you were talking about.
Yeah.
So you can reuse enter the battlefield effects, you can save creatures you control, as long as they're spirits.
Yep.
That's not bad.
Yeah. So looking at it outside of the spirit deck in which it wants to be in, I think it's fine. A 2/2 for 3 flyer is okay.
It's fine. Yep. That's a good rate. So right there I'd put it as C+, and even with the ability I'd still only give it a C+.
Yeah.
But I'd probably pick it fairly highly because I like flyers, and a lot of people ignore them.
I'm a huge fan of flyers. I often find if you pack your deck full of flyers, they can deal with the first couple, and that's about it.
So where would you pick Spectral Shepherd?
She's uncommon. I would probably pick her around 4th to 6th.
Okay. Stern Constable.
He's awfully stern.
He's a common human soldier.
Wearing a nifty hat.
And he's a 1/1 for 1. So what do we think of 1/1s for 1?
In this set, 1/1s for 1 are fine. Because you can block with them to get them into your graveyard.
I think you have hit on something something very key. In just in white alone, there are 7 creatures with 1 toughness at common and uncommon. A 1/1 is going to do a lot more work than you would normally think about it.
Yeah.
Plus the amount of tokens and whatnot.
Yes, plus all of the different deck types that need to either have a creature die or something in the graveyard helps. And then it also has an ability.
And you could also equip it, because it's a human,
Yeah.
and it's a creature, and it's a 1-drop, so you can easily equip it the same turn it comes down if you've already got something down.
Yeah.
But yes, it has an ability. Tap and discard a card. Put a note and put a button on that to tap target creature. So as a tapper, it's not that great. Like having to tap it and discard a card to tap target creature isn't great. But if discarding a card is something you want to do,
getting an enchantment into the graveyard, which you often have a very hard time doing.
Or paying a madness cost for something.
Yep, absolutely.
Then that is more important than tapping target creature.
That's just an added little upside.
Now, if it happens that your opponent has a single large wall, that might be worth it. Or if you're on the back... Well, if you're on the back foot, then discarding a card probably isn't something that you want to do to tap their big thing. But that ability... I put that ability as just sort of fine.
Yeah. The other stuff is cool.
The other stuff is cool. I still only put him at a C-. I don't think he's as good as the other 1-drops.
I gave him a C- as well. I think he could be a C if you have a really synergistic deck that is going to need these mechanics really badly. But I still think he's a really nifty dude with a cool hat.
Yeah, he's got a cool hat. Now, just to note, Madness is in blue, black, and red.
Yeah.
And all 3 blue, black, and red pair well with white.
Absolutely.
So if you are in the Madness deck, you'll definitely want to pick something like him up.
He'll be really handy.
Because he'll be a good...
He'll be one of the enablers that you want. Yeah.
A fairly good enabler. In that case, I'd probably pick him up as soon as you know you're in the Madness deck. But
yeah, he certainly goes up from there. As I said, this is one of those things where we're going to be saying, but if you have this deck, you really want this guy.
Yeah. All right. Thraban Inspector is another 1-drop. Single white for a human soldier at common. This is a 1/2. And when she enters the battlefield, you investigate. And investigate says put a colorless clue artifact token onto the battlefield with pay 2, sacrifice this artifact, draw a card. Important to note, tokens don't go into the graveyard, so that's not going to help with delirium or anything like that. But it does give you a permanent to sacrifice. I don't like this one as much as the Stern Constable. I don't think, even with the clue token, it's really worth paying a card for a 1/2.
It's almost a cantrip, though. Because it almost... I mean, you're paying the extra mana, but you're getting that token. And as you said, this is going to trade with a lot of the 1-buts, and it's going to trade with 1/1s and stick around.
Okay. So where do you put it?
I gave it a C. I think it's okay. I think it's strong.
I put it at a C-. I don't think it's bad enough to dip into the D range, because, like we've said, there are a lot of 1 toughness things, so it's going to be fine, but I want a little more from my card.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm not going to pick it highly. I'm going to pick it up when it's handed to me very late, and I might run it.
Fair enough.
Toppelgeist is another
cool
1-drop. Art. It's 3 in a row. That is cool art. It is an uncommon spirit. It's a 1/1 for 1 with flying. And when it enters the battlefield, tap target creature an opponent controls. Then, if you have Delirium, at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, tap target creature that player controls. This is a 1-drop that I can get behind. It does get blocked by spirit tokens, so it's not going to be an effective attacker if they've got any sort of air support.
I think the place for this is in a black-white weenie deck.
Okay.
I think it becomes fairly powerful.
Or the white-blue spirit
deck. Yeah, absolutely.
I think if you know you're going to have Delirium, then this goes up quite a bit.
Absolutely.
Because at that point, you don't have to attack with it. It's sitting there as an enchantment that just taps something down.
Yeah.
It's not an enchantment, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
So I gave it a C.
I gave it a C+, with the star of in the deck that wants it.
Okay.
I still would pick it. Not horribly highly, but I think it's still completely playable.
I think I'd pick it up on the wheel, unless I knew I was going to have Delirium, and then I'd pick it up fairly high. Town Gossipmonger is a 4th 1-drop in a row. It's a 1/1 for 1. A human, straight human, at uncommon. And you can tap an untapped creature you control. Sorry, tap it and tap an untapped creature you control to transform it.
Okay.
And it transforms into Incited Rabble, which is a 2/3 that attacks each combat if able. And you can pay 2 to give it +1/+0 until end of turn. And you can do that as many times as you can pay for it. So, from casting it turn 1, and then casting a 2-drop turn 2.
Yep.
You can flip it automatically into a 2/3, and then you're attacking with, let's say, 4 power on turn 3.
Yep, I think it's perfectly fine in a hyper-aggressive deck.
I think I'd put it at a C+.
I gave it a C-, because I think it's pretty specifically for a really aggressive deck.
Okay. But red-white decks tend to be
fairly aggressive, yes. But again, you're committing to being in a red-white deck.
Well, again, you're not, though, because it's just a single white mana.
True. But the fire breathing is useless unless you're in a... Oh, no, is it colorless?
No, it's colorless.
Oh, fair enough.
Uh-huh.
That makes it slightly better, but it's still expensive fire breathing.
So what do you give him?
I gave him a C minus.
Okay.
I think he's probably a C.
Okay. I give him a C plus, but I might be wrong there. I just think it's going to be good in hyper aggressive scenarios. And on turn 3, having a 2/2 and a 2/3 already ready to go is going to be
it's pretty good.
But that's best case scenario too. All right, the last of our white cards is a reprint from the original Innistrad.
Ooh.
Unruly Mob is 1 and a white for a common human. 1/1. Whenever another creature you control dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Unruly Mob. So, I like the card a lot. I don't know how good it is. What do you think?
Well, we've seen a lot of sack in here, in white.
We have.
So
and a lot of things that want to trade.
Yes. So I think it could be pretty good. I gave it a C plus. I think that's a little hopeful, but I think it definitely will sit in the C until we see how things run. But I can't help but think so many of the mechanics want to get things into the graveyard.
True.
There's going to be a lot of trading off and sacrificing. And
I gave it a C because even a 1/1 can do work when there are so many 1 toughness creatures.
Yeah.
And optimistically, you could get this thing up to a 3/3, maybe even a 4/4.
Yep.
And at that point, it'd take real removal to deal with it.
Yeah.
Also,
when you have it sitting on your field with your other, 2/2s and 1 butts, you're suddenly not as hesitant to trade off those other creatures because your dude's going to get bigger, and it also makes your opponent wary of making that guy bigger too. It also can become a lightning rod for removal,
possibly
pulling the removal out of their hands. So, yeah, I think it's pretty cool.
I wouldn't pick it up early, but I'd pick it up whenever I got around to it. I guess it is a common.
Yeah.
So that's white for creatures at common and uncommon. Just for some metrics here, there were 5 spirits total, 11 humans, and 1 angel. I don't know if angel tribal matters. Probably not, since there's only 1 of them. But I thought it was interesting. So there are a lot of humans and a few spirits.
Yeah. But there were also not a lot, but a fair amount of spirits that came down with or came into being when certain things happened.
That's true. This isn't counting tokens
and stuff, yeah.
So there were 1, 2, 3, 4, possibly 5 more spirit tokens. So that's quite a few spirits. So that's something to be aware of for synergies throughout the rest of the set. White looked, I don't know, kind of mediocre.
I rather like white, but that's looking at white as a whole.
Okay.
Once we get into the other stuff in white.
I like the flavor of the cards. The creatures don't seem terribly strong, but
I think you're going to find white. I don't think you're ever going to draft them on a white deck.
No.
I think the strength of white is going to be dependent on how you pair and with what you pair.
Red, black, blue, or green.
But I think it has a nice shell.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
We'll see.
So we are going to move on to blue. All right, blue.
Blue.
Aberrant Researcher is 3 and a blue for a human insect. Weird. At uncommon. And it's a 3/2 flyer.
Cool.
So a 3/2 flyer for 4 is fine. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
At the beginning of your upkeep, put the top card of your library into your graveyard. If it's an instant or sorcery card, transform Aberrant Researcher. So that's going to help with Delirium, maybe.
Yep.
That's going to help with any graveyard-related cards that you want in your graveyard.
Yep.
And other than that, it really doesn't matter. But if you transform it, it becomes Perfected Form, an insect horror, which is a 5/4 flyer.
Pretty cool.
So that's 4 mana for a 5/4 flyer on layaway. I think that's pretty good.
It's pretty darn good.
I'm going to say that's a solid B. Right.
I gave it a C plus simply because it needs to go into a deck. Scroll back again. Just make sure my writing is correct. Yeah, it has to be a really instant and sorcery heavy deck.
Unless you're trying to get...
stuff into your graveyard. Yeah,
yeah.
For sure. I still think it's wicked cool.
Yeah, I think whatever you're going to use it for, it's going to be good. So I think it's a solid B. It's also harkens back to the card that I can't believe I'm forgetting the name of from the original Innistrad. Never mind. Moving right along. So I say B, you say C+?
Yep.
Okay. Daring Sleuth is
right.
1 in a blue for a 2/1 human rogue at uncommon. So here's another 1 toughness creature.
Yep.
Another human. And when you sacrifice a clue, notice he doesn't come with a clue, transform him. So right there, he's a 2/1 for 2. And that might be all. So a 2/1 for 2 is fine.
Yeah. In this set, it's... Well, in any set, it's okay.
Put it
I
at
prefer
a D plus just on that.
Absolutely. But what does it transform it to?
Bearer of Overwhelming Truths is a human wizard, and he's a 3/2 with prowess. And whenever Bearer of Overwhelming Truths deals combat damage to a player, you get a clue token. You get to investigate.
Ooh.
So that's fine. I don't know how much multiple clue tokens is going to matter unless you can sacrifice them for some other purpose. Like, paying 2 to draw a card is good, but I'm not going to do that multiple times a turn.
No, but there's a lot of stuff that wants you to sack something.
Right.
So
if it was just a 2/1 for 2, it's like a D plus.
Yeah.
With assuming that you're going to have a clue token that you can sacrifice, which is a fairly good assumption in blue, I put him at a C.
Yeah. He also has prowess, which is not...
When he's transformed, he has prowess.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Because suddenly you can have a 4/2, 4/3.
I love these little lantern investigator robot things.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
So, yeah. I don't think... He looks really good. Like, he looks a 3/2 with prowess, that whenever he deals damage, you get a clue token that looks really good. But I don't know how reliable that is, so I just put him at a C.
Yeah, I get you. Let's see.
Drownyard Explorers. 3 and a blue for a 2/4 common human wizard. When they enter the battlefield, investigate. So you get a clue token.
Yeah, that's fine.
2/4 for 4 without reach or flying is not really where I want to be. But
because you're in blue?
Yeah.
Because when we were talking in white, it was... that's okay. But in blue, you'd prefer to be in something...
In white, it had flying, didn't it?
No, there were a couple that didn't have flying.
2/4 for 5?
No, it didn't have flying. Well, there was one that had flying, but I think there was one that didn't.
I think they're a C-. They're fine.
I gave it a C, simply because of the clue token. We don't know how much those are going to... How good that is going to be. So.
Yeah, I don't know how many you're going to want for drawing the cards, but if there's a lot more sacrifice a permanent, then they come in handy.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I put them C-, you put them in C?
Yep.
Oh boy. Drew Now, Corpse Trawler.
Ooh, the wind is picking up. It's supposed to go 50 miles an hour.
Drew Now, Corpse Trawler
is
a 1/1 uncommon zombie for 3 and a blue. So a 1/1 for 4. What do you think of that?
If that were the only thing, that would be an F.
Yeah. Okay.
So must do more. Tell me some more.
So you get a 2/2 zombie when they enter the battlefield.
So you're getting 3 power for 4 on 2 bodies.
Yep.
Sign me up.
Okay. That's what, a C minus, a C right there?
Yeah.
It also has an activated ability. For 2 and a black,
Yep.
target zombie gains death touch until end of turn.
Yep.
Yup.
I think if this is in a zombie deck, which is where you want this guy, he's sitting at a B for me. He's just really quite good. Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's just really good.
If you're in a zombie deck, I see that. If you're in a deck that makes a lot of zombies, I see that. I put him at a C+, just on the basis of 3 power, 3 toughness, 2 bodies, with a possible upside.
Yep.
I might be convinced to go B-, but I definitely pick it up fairly early. It's an interesting and unique ability.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So you wouldn't have to fight hard to get me to pick it.
Yeah, for me, any card that comes and brings an extra friend, you know, within reason, is just really nice because it suddenly messes up a lot of things. Suddenly, when you're behind, you have an extra.
Yeah, 2
blocker.
bodies is a lot different than one.
One, yeah. So I rather like him. He's pretty cool, and his art is.
But we need to come up with a nickname.
Yeah.
Buddy guy.
Buddy
friend.
guy.
Buddy friend.
All right.
Erdwall Illuminator is an uncommon spirit at 1 and a blue for a 1/3 with flying. And whenever you investigate for the first time each turn, investigate an additional time. So I don't know if that ability really matters much. And a 1/3 flyer isn't really what I want. So I put him at a D+.
I gave him a C+.
Okay.
Because.
Explain yourself.
Because early game, 3 toughness on a flyer is decent, and he's going to plink for a little bit.
Okay.
That is the nature of the 1/3 flyers.
Okay.
Later game, it's going to help you draw a bunch of cards, assuming you're putting this in the deck that has the investigate, which it's blue.
Okay.
Suddenly you have card advantage, which is nice.
My problem with that is that blue is not the color that needs help with card advantage. Like, there are probably going to be better ways than clue tokens to draw
There
cards.
haven't been any that I have seen in the instants and sorceries, unless I'm not remembering. That seems to be really reserved for bounce and counter spells. I haven't seen a lot of draw cards.
Isn't there a draw spell in blue? There's always a draw spell in blue.
I don't recall there being a draw spell in blue. Maybe there is.
Well, when we get there, we'll know.
Oh, well, I can probably as we're going around.
But, okay. A 1/3 flyer for 2, you're probably right. He's probably better than D+. So I'll put him in a C-, but
especially with all the spirit tokens flying around, and he eats them for breakfast.
Yeah. Oh, I'd definitely side him in if I was against a spirit-heavy deck.
Yeah. I guess I just like him more than you.
Okay.
It's okay, he'll be my friend.
All right.
I'm going to call him Eddie.
Eddie. All right.
Look at that art. That's some art.
I do like the art. I think it's really cool. Furtive Homunculus.
I love homunculi.
Me too.
Homunculus. All right.
Homunculus.
Ooh. Hey, look. It's a new ability.
Yes, a new ability.
First time we've seen it.
Well, it's not the first time we've seen the ability, but it is the first time it's had a name.
It's the first time we've seen it in this set so far.
Furtive Homunculus is a 2/1 for 1 and a blue. He's a common homunculus, and he's got Skulk. And Skulk reads, this creature can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. I like Skulk a lot. I think Skulk is a really cool mechanic. It's evasion for blue, which makes sense.
Yeah.
With the getting rid of Intimidate, they've really been trying to spread out different variations on evasion to the different colors.
There's also Skulk in black, correct? Yes.
I believe so.
Yes. On the rats.
Right. But it feels very blue.
Yeah.
And I like that.
He's very cute, too.
He is cute. Homunculuses usually are. So, a 2/1 that's not going to be blocked by anything with greater power, so it's probably going to trade. I mean, it could run into a 2/3 and die, but it could run into a 1/1 and die. But it could take out a bear.
What I like is that it's doing the same thing that blue, or that white has had happen to it, is that it's given these low creatures later game implications. Because you bring them down later in the game where they don't have a lot of little guys anymore. They're mostly running their bigger guys.
Right, and you can't block them with your 6/6 or
whatever. You can equip them and do some shenanigans. There's just a little bit of variation. It's not always, I mean, it's Magical Christmas Land, but there's more variation than there has been.
Oh, he does run flat into walls.
Smack! Right into the wall, yeah.
So I put him at a D. I don't think he's great. I think he's cool.
I gave him a C.
Okay.
I think he's fine.
Yeah.
I think you throw one in your deck. He's still a 2/1 for 2.
Yeah.
Trades.
Throw one in the deck. So maybe a D+.
Yeah.
D+.
Alrighty.
And I'll pick him up, late in the pack.
You probably will be able to.
Yeah. Lamplighter of Selhoff is 4 and a blue for a 3/5 zombie horror at common. So here's another zombie.
Yep.
When Lamplighter of Selhoff enters the battlefield, if you control another zombie, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. So this is a one-time loot
that enables madness.
It's
good.
Important to note, if you're paying 5 for him, I don't know what you're going to have left to pay the madness cost. But you do get a loot, and a loot on its own is fine.
Yeah. And a 3/5 for 5 is fine.
Yeah.
And his art is fantastic.
Yeah. So I put him at a C+.
I give him a C.
I like him. I think there's some utility there. If you bounce him for cheap or free, then you will definitely get a chance at your madness, which is great. But as it stands, he's just sort of solid.
Yep.
Manic Scribe.
Okay, this is what I want to talk about.
Okay, it's an 0/3 human wizard at uncommon for 1 and a blue.
That's fine.
So 2 mana for an 0/3 is, fine. Not exciting,
it's
but
more
fine.
like a little defender guy.
When Manic Scribe enters the battlefield, each opponent puts the top 3 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. Now that on its own is actually a downside. You want to be milling yourself.
Yep, you're too likely to enable the opponent's delirium.
However, if you have delirium, at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, that player puts the top 3 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard.
Now here were the notes that I made for myself. To check the viability of mill in this format. And there is a slim chance with a couple of rare mythics and whatnot to pull together a mill shenanigan deck. But I think that's only good if all the cards are in your favor and that's what you get.
So that being said, if you get one of the rare mythics, you're going to be first picking it.
Yep.
Or maybe picking it first in the second pack. At which point you'll have plenty of time to pick this up because
nobody else is going to play it.
I don't want to give it an F.
I gave it a D-.
I'm going to give it a D- too. It's just it's not terrible. It's still an 0/3 for 2.
I just think it gives your opponent too much of an upside. There's better cards to play.
Yeah. Unless you're going for that mill deck.
Yeah.
So there we go.
That's what we think about that.
Niblis of Dusk.
Okay.
2 and a blue for a 2/1 spirit at common with flying and prowess.
That's good.
So this is a Jeskai Windscout.
Yep. In a tribal that has the possibility to go into a tribal shop.
That's right. Jeskai Windscout was fine. It wasn't exciting.
But I threw it in my decks.
But it was fine. So I give this solid C.
Me too.
A 2-power flyer for 3 is fine, and then the upside of prowess,
being in
the
blue
upside
especially.
of being a spirit,
yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah, I'm gonna want a couple of my decks.
It does get blocked by spirit tokens.
Yeah.
So that being said, if your opponent is swinging with one of these, into a spirit token, you have to know they have something.
Yeah, they have prowess. Otherwise, yeah.
I would block it anyway. I'd block the crap out of it, because who cares about a dumb spirit? But
yeah.
But that's something to know.
Yep.
So, what did I say? C?
Yep, me too.
Okay. Reckless Scholar. This is a reprint from Zendikar, actually.
Ooh.
Which is interesting. Original Zendikar. 2 and a blue for a 2/1 human wizard at uncommon. So, that's not great.
Nope.
But
what does he do?
The text is pretty good.
I like this guy.
Tap. Target player draws a card, then discards a card.
I really like this guy.
This is a free looter.
I gave him a B because
I'm right there, B.
He does so much in so many different specific decks, and if nothing else, he's just looting.
Just as a looter, he's a B. In a Madness deck, he's almost an A-. Like,
yeah.
he's exactly what you want.
He's awesome.
If you know you want to go into the Madness deck, you would scoop this guy up first, second, or third.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like him.
It's that good. Seagraph Scab.
All right.
1 and a blue for a 1/3 zombie at common.
I gave him a C-, but a C in a zombie deck.
I gave him a C-, and he should be a turtle.
He should totally be a turtle. I think he's a little better because there are some fun cards later that have zombie matters.
Yeah.
So he becomes a little better. But yeah, I think he's a C-. He's fine.
If he was not a zombie, I'd give him like a D.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of turtles, Silberblind Snapper. Silberblind Snapper is 5 and a blue for a 6/6 turtle at common. That's a big turtle.
Yep.
He can't attack unless you've cast a non-creature spell this turn.
Yep.
So this is kind of what you expect from a big creature in blue.
Yep. He belongs in a specific deck.
Yeah, like, you don't want to pay 6 for a 6/6 defender.
Nope.
Although, you might. But if you can get him to attack...
Yeah. I gave him a D.
Yeah, I give him a D.
And then my thinking was, if you are in that instant and sorcery heavy deck where we've seen a couple of cards that would like you to have that
We've got a lot
archetype,
of token generation, or...
Yeah, then he becomes pretty good. But I see him sitting at a D unless you have the deck that wants him.
I still don't think he becomes good, because let's say you're in blue-black. You're going to have to spend your removal before combat if you want to swing with him.
I'm
You're
thinking
going to spend
blue-red.
your combat tricks before combat if you want to swing with him. It's just not ideal. So I still don't think he's that great.
I still think when you see how much bounce and counter spells there are in this, I still think he has a place.
Something out of the way and then swing in with... Okay. Yeah.
Counter their spell.
I still put him at a D. If you want one, you'll know.
He's sitting at a D. That was exactly my point.
Okay.
All right. Moving on.
Silent Observer. It's not just a feeling. You are being watched.
Ooh.
3 and a blue for a 1/5 flyer who is a spirit at common. This I like quite a bit. 5 toughness for 4 mana is in the air is good.
Mm-hmm.
It'll give you that time to get to 6 or 7 or whatever your end game is.
Yep.
It's not great, but it will block spirits. It'll block basically anything.
Yep. And he's a spirit.
So it'll give you some time.
Yeah, I give him a C. I think he's good.
I also give him a C. Stitched Mangler.
Oh, he's a dude.
He's a gnarly looking dude. 2 and a blue for a 2/3 zombie horror at common. He enters the battlefield tapped, so that's not great. But when he enters the battlefield, tap target creature an opponent controls, and that creature doesn't untap during their controller's next untap step. That's fine.
Yep.
not being able to block with him doesn't matter so much when you're tapping anything they have down and keeping it tapped down for a turn.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give him a C+.
I gave him a C.
Okay.
For me, he was 3 upsides to 1 negligible downside.
Okay.
He's a zombie.
Mm-hmm.
He comes in with a tap effect, and he's a 2/3 for 3.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good. And the fact that the tap effect is longer lasting.
Yeah, it doesn't untap one time.
Yeah, and the entering tapped, meh.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's pretty good.
Stitchwing Scob is 3 and a blue for a 3/1 zombie horror at uncommon that flies. And I didn't look at the art before. That's really weird.
Yeah, he's kind of interesting looking.
So a flying 3/1 for 4 is fine.
Yep.
He also has an ability. 1 in a blue and discard 2 cards. Return them from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So discarding 2 cards at a time is not something I want to do too often. Not something you're going to be able to do too often. But if you've managed to take out their air support, it might be worth it. It'll also fuel delirium.
And madness.
Yeah, but only 1 madness. The other's going to have to be like a land or something.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I don't know. I'd put him just at a C.
I gave him a C+ because he's a 3/1 in the air for 4. Now, that said, there are a lot of stupid little spirit tokens, but
I just don't want to trade my 4 drop off with a spirit token.
No, that's true.
But I don't know, he's got some utility.
Mm-hmm.
Storm Rider Spirit is 4 and a blue for a spirit at common, and he's a 3/3 with flying and flash. So 3/3 with flash in the air, I like.
Yep.
Having to leave 5 mana up means that they're probably going to see something coming, especially since he's a common. Still, I think that's fine.
Yeah. I think it's good. I gave him a C+. He does have that flash ability. Late game, he's...
Being able to hold him up and maybe sack a couple of clues if you don't want to play him instead or whatever. You know? It's going to do enough, and a 3/3 flyer for 5 is just fine on its own.
Yep.
So I put him in a C+.
There we go.
Uninvited Geist. This is possibly my favorite name in the set.
Mm-hmm.
Uninvited Geist is 2 and a blue for a 2/2 spirit at uncommon.
Okay.
With Skulk. So a 2/2 with evasion for 3 is pretty good.
Yep.
When Uninvited Geist deals combat damage to a player, transform it. And it transforms into an unimpeded trespasser, who is a 3/3 spirit that can't be blocked.
I love this guy.
I love the art. It's so Japanese.
His original state, he can't be blocked by spirits. Spirit tokens.
By 1/1 spirit tokens.
Yeah.
He can be blocked by... no, he can. He can't be blocked by creatures with...
Oh, right. But he's a 2/2, so it's fine. Yeah.
And he'll trade with zombies.
But he can't be blocked by the 3/1 flyers.
Right. So...
Oh, he's not a flyer anyway.
No, he's not a flyer. He just can't be blocked by creatures with greater power.
That's the weirdness with spirits. To me, they should all fly.
I get that.
Just from a flavor text, you know, that they float above the ground, they might as well be flying.
Yeah, but some of them, all they do is, hover.
Still kind of flying.
I want to see, and I haven't yet, I want to see a spirit defender where it's like the ghost of Hamlet's father. Someone who... Rampart's ghost or something that has to stay put. It's haunting a specific place.
I mean, kind of like a fog. Oh, well, that's fog, so I guess it's not the same.
Yeah, but like a fog bank, something like that. Anyway, I like this guy quite a bit. I'd give him a C+.
As did I.
I don't know how easy it is going to be to transform him. Any bear will trade with him.
Yeah.
But if you do get in with him, possibly by bouncing their creature out of the way or tapping it down, then you'll have a 3/3 unblockable, and that will work your opponent down real quick.
I had assumed, I didn't note that he wasn't a flyer. Now I feel silly. But yeah, I still like him. I still think he's pretty cool.
So that's blue for creatures. Again, there are 6 creatures with toughness 1. So keep that in mind. Those 1/1s are probably worth a little more than usual.
Yeah.
There are also 5 zombies, 5 spirits, and 5 humans in blue.
Yep.
Which is interesting. Not counting tokens. What'd you think of blue?
I liked blue because I'm a big flyer fan, so...
I like blue quite a bit.
So yeah.
I think the flavor is good. I don't know how well it's really going to pair with white, which is weird because white-blue spirits seems like a deck.
Yep.
But I think it's going to pair better with black or even red.
Yeah.
But we'll get there.
We'll get there.
Okay. Moving right along. Accursed Witch is our first black creature. She is a 4/2 for 3 and a black. An uncommon human shaman. And she seems to have horns or something. The art's actually really cool. Spells your opponents cast that target Accursed Witch cost 1 less to cast. So that's a downside. But when she dies, return her to the battlefield transformed under your control, attached to target opponent. Getting to that in a second, what do you think of a 4/2 for 4?
I think I like 4/2s for 4 much more than you do.
I think you're right.
I think they're
prefer
fun.
a 3/3 for 4 to a 4/2 for 4. But in this case, I think she'll trade up, down, or sideways, and that's fine. Or she'll bash in and maybe get in once, maybe twice, if your opponent really doesn't want to kill her.
Yep.
Or if they're waiting on an exile spell that they could draw or something, she could do some damage.
Yep.
So when she transforms, she is an infectious curse.
Oh, curses.
So
That's
she becomes
awesome.
an enchantment or a curse. With enchant player, spells you cast that target enchanted player cost 1 less to cast. So any of your make them sack a creature, make them discard cards, things of that nature, cost 1 less. That's fine. And at the beginning of enchanted player's upkeep, that player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So she drains your opponent's life.
And that little downside from the other side of the card is really helping us
they don't want to target
get
her
her
anyway.
Die. Yeah, I like her a lot.
Now, I don't know yet how easy it is to exile creatures in this set.
There's a lot of exile in this.
Is there?
Oh,
All
yeah.
right. Well, that makes her a little worse. But as it stands, I put her at a B-.
I gave her a C+. I think she's really fun.
I think she looks really fun, and at uncommon, I think maybe if you pick up 2 of them, that can start to steamroll. You know. All right. Crow of Dark Tidings. 2 and a black for a 2/1 zombie bird at common with flying.
That's cool.
When it enters the battlefield or dies, put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard. So that's kind of, I don't know, that's a wash, because sure, you want to mill yourself a little bit, but I'm not going to pick it on those grounds. I'm going to pick it as a 2-power flyer for 3.
Fair enough.
I think there are better ways to get things into your graveyard, so I gave it a C-. It trades for spirit tokens, and
That's true.
I don't tend to like these cards as much as maybe I should.
I don't know.
What do you think?
I gave it a C, but the fact that it trades for spirit tokens
Now
kinda
that
makes
will
me...
get 2 more cards in your graveyard.
Yep, I think this is going to be completely decided on what your deck looks like otherwise.
Mm-hmm. It
so
is a
I
zombie.
probably would pick it up a little later. It is a zombie, and that could matter a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Okay. Farbog Revenant is 2 and a black for a 1/3 spirit at common with Skulk and Lifelink.
That's pretty cool.
I thought this was really interesting. It's a 1/3 with Skulk, which means that it can't be blocked by anything with power greater than 1.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not going to die to a spirit token or a lot of things with 1 power. Now, it can be triple blocked.
Yeah, but you're taking out 3 of their things, so
1. It's a 1/3. You're only dealing 1 damage.
Oh, fair enough, yeah.
You take out 1 of their things, but you gain a life. And I think this is a really good vehicle for equipment.
Yeah.
Or for combat tricks.
Yeah.
Especially if they block it with 3 spirits and you give it +1 in first strike or something like that.
Yeah.
That's going to be
what
nice.
I was like, ooh, and again, Happy Christmas Land, and we haven't got there yet because we're not in the rares and the mythics, but Audric, his interesting little ability to...
Isn't that only humans? No, it's creatures you control.
It's creatures you control.
Okay. Yeah. So I like this guy quite a bit. I gave him a C+.
I gave him a C. I think he's really cool, though.
I'm going to pick up a couple and just... It changes the race a little bit with lifelink to plink away at them. Because you're going to be able
Especially almost unblockable lifelink.
Yeah. You're going to be able to swing with them. Almost with impunity. Ghoul Caller's Accomplice is 1 and a black for a 2/2 human rogue at common.
So he's a roguey bear.
Yes. His name is Rogie Bear.
You like that? You're smiling. You really like that, don't you?
I am going to call him Rogie Bear. That's awful.
I know, it just came off the top of my head. Sorry.
3 and a black. Exile him from your graveyard. Put a zombie token onto the battlefield. So that's fine. A 2/2 for 2 that you can then get another 2/2 out of later is great.
In a type that could really be helpful to you, being that it's a zombie.
Yeah, it's a human and then it's a zombie.
Yeah.
Now, the Ghoul Caller isn't in this set, is she?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, not yet, anyway.
That's a shame.
We'll see next block.
Yeah, next set. Ghoul Caller Gisa is a legendary creature that is referenced in this card. But
yeah.
I like this card. I gave it a C+.
Yep.
I think as a bear it's strong, and as Rogie Bear it's...
Rogie Bear gets 2 thumbs up.
This is terrible.
I know.
Ghoul Steed
Oh, yes.
is a zombie horse. It is 4 and a black for a 4/4 zombie horse at uncommon. So a 4/4 for 5 in black is pretty good.
Yep.
It's a zombie. That's pretty good. It's also got an ability. Pay 2 and a black and discard 2 cards. Return it from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Which is fine. Obviously untapped is better, but getting your 4/4 back for 3 mana and 2 cards is probably okay.
I gave him a C+ because that discard 2 cards, you can discard a land and an enchantment, and suddenly you have delirium.
Or it can be used for madness, or
I like him, and it's a horse, and it's really, really cool looking.
I also gave him a C+. I think this is one of the 5 drops that I'm going to want.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Heir of Falconwrath. Is this our first zombie? Or our first vampire?
I think so.
So 1 and a black for a 2/1 creature vampire at uncommon. You can discard a card to transform her.
That seems good.
Activate this ability only once each turn. Now that only is there so you don't stack the triggers and cast a bunch of madness spells.
Yeah.
But that right there, a 2/1 for 2 with a free Madness activation is probably C minus.
Yeah.
But let's see what she transforms into. Heir of the Night is a 3/2 flyer. So you
nice.
pay 2 mana for a 3/2 flyer.
That's really good.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Also, you can do that the turn that she comes down, if you so choose.
Yep.
So, a 3/2 flyer for 2, solid. I gave her a C+.
Yeah, she's definitely C+. I like her a lot.
Yeah. Okay, so, sorry, what was your rating?
Sorry, we had to pause due to household shenanigans. Yeah. And where were we sitting? Era Falconrath? Yeah, I gave her a C.
I give her a C+. I think...
I could see that.
Just because it's 2 mana for what is basically a 3/2 flyer.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Really good. Mm-hmm. All right, Hound of the Farbogs.
Hound of the Baskerville, you said? Wait,
yeah.
What?
4 and a black for a zombie hound, not a ghost hound. But it's a 5/3.
It's a zombie.
A 5/3 for 5. What do you think?
Is that right? Is that right? It's okay?
It's common as well.
Yep.
Now, if you have Delirium, it has Menace. So, again, I don't know how easy Delirium's going to be to get, but if you know you're going to have it, a 5/3 with Menace is pretty good.
Oh, yeah, for 5? Yeah.
It'll trade with 2 creatures. Almost any 2 things that block it are going to trade with it, but it will probably take them with it.
Or it will be punching through some serious damage.
Or, yeah.
So, yeah, he's pretty cool.
As just a 5/3 for 5, I don't like it as much because it will trade down.
I give him a C. I still think he's perfectly fine in that 5-drop slot.
Yeah, I'll give him a C. He's not the 5-drop I want, but he's the 5-drop I deserve.
But if you have a Delirium deck, he could be...
better.
Crazy.
Indulgent Aristocrat. This is our first 1-drop in black. A 1/1 for 1 vampire at uncommon with lifelink. And pay 2 and sacrifice a creature. Put a +1/+1 counter on each vampire you control.
Yup.
Now, there are 5 vampires in black at common and uncommon. And... Sorry, 6 in black and 6 in red at common and uncommon. So that's quite a few. Plus, I think there's a way to make a few vampire tokens.
Okay.
So that could end up being pretty good. You do have to sacrifice a creature to do it, but having a sack outlet is often a pretty good deal.
In black, especially, yeah.
And just a 1/1 with lifelink will trade with a lot of 1-drop creatures.
With a slight upside for you.
Right. Now, he'll also trade with a creature token, or he'll be eaten by a zombie, or whatever. So it's not all upside, but I put him at a C because I think he could go up from there, but his baseline is more around the D+ range, so...
I gave him a C, but he could be a C+ if you have enough vampires going on. If your deck is strong enough.
If you know you've got crazy vampire synergy, he goes
want
up further.
this guy. Yeah.
Kindly stranger.
Aww.
She looks so nice.
And sweet. She's gonna bake you a pie.
2 and a black for a human.
And put you in it.
At uncommon. She's a 2/3.
That's fine.
So she's a Witch's Familiar. She's a 2/3 for 3 in black.
She's fine.
If you have Delirium, you can pay 2 and a black to transform her. Okay,
What happens?
so for 6 mana, you get a 4/3. And when this creature transforms into demon-possessed witch, you may destroy target creature. Period. So for 3 mana, you get a 2/3. And for another 3 mana, you get to kill anything.
And get left with a 4/3.
And get left with a 4/3.
Yeah.
I put her at a B.
I gave her a C+, only because, again, Delirium is an unknown quantity right now.
Fair enough.
But it's going to be a B if Delirium is at all
I think
consistent to get.
if you pick up one of these, you're going to try your hardest to make it.
Yeah.
And to be honest, the most likely configuration for Delirium is going to be mill a land, sack a creature, cast an instant and sorcery. There you go. You've got Delirium. That might be tricky, but I think it's doable.
I think so,
So
too.
I put her at a B. I think she's removal. I think she's good.
Removal and a body.
I'm going to pick her highly.
Yeah, she's going to be pretty cool. And her art, look at that.
Yeah.
Now she wants to eat your face.
Mm-hmm.
Cook you in her pie.
Morkrut Necropod.
Well,
Say
that's
that
a
5
mouthful.
times fast. 5 in a black for an uncommon slug horror. It's a 7/7 with menace.
A playable slug.
But whenever you attack or block with it, you have to sacrifice another creature or land.
You know what he is? He's a finisher.
He is a finisher. If I have to sack 3 lands on an empty board to kill my opponent, I'm happy to do it.
I'm laughing, yeah.
That, I think, is best case scenario, but I still think he's good.
By the time you have the mana to cast him, you probably have the stuff to sack, you would hope.
Either tokens or more land than you need.
A clue? Does it say? No, creature or land. Okay.
Creature or land.
So, yeah, you would hope some zombie tokens.
What I want this guy for is at the top of my curve, the very top of my curve, in an aggressive deck that has my 1, 2, and 3 power guys now outclassed by whatever's on their side of the board.
So you can just get rid of them.
So I can, just sort of pound through with it.
Trade them up.
Yeah. That being said, I don't think he's that high. I had him at a C+ here. I'm going to move him to a B- because I think he's got a good chance of finishing games.
I have him at a C+.
Okay. So that is a slug horror.
It's pretty cool.
Olivia's Bloodsworn. We have another vampire, a vampire soldier at uncommon, and it's a 2/1 for 2, 1 in black, with flying.
Which is fine.
It can't block, but you can pay a red to give target vampire haste until end of turn. So I think that's probably relevant.
Yep.
Paying 1 red to give something haste means that your opponent has to be on the defensive. It means they have to consider leaving back extra blockers, and this card goes into an aggressive deck to begin with.
Yeah, in a
As a 2
little
on
black
flyer.
red deck, and it's just a red. You don't even have to tap it or anything else, which is kind of nice.
Now it can't block.
Yeah, I still gave it a C, but I mean, honestly, if the deck we're describing, you don't want to be blocking anyway. So
I gave it a C as well. I don't think it's great, but I think it's good enough that I'm going to want to...
Yeah, in that hyper-aggressive deck, which we've already seen the beginnings of the shell of it, I think that that's pretty cool. That, yeah.
The 1-drop vampire into this, into, I don't know, a token maker, and then you can start pumping up your vampires.
Yeah.
Seems like a plan. Pale Rider of Trostad is an uncommon spirit.
Tired-looking horse.
Well, I think the rider is probably a little more than tired. It's a spirit. 1 in a black for a 3/3
That's crazy. It must have some horrible downside.
with Skulk.
Okay, what's the bad side? Downside, give it to me.
When Pale Rider of Trostad enters the battlefield, discard a card.
So where's the downside, dude?
The downside is that if you want to play this on turn 2, you're not going to get a a madness out of it. You're going to have to discard an actual card.
Yeah.
If, on the other hand, you play this on turn, let's say, 6, then you're going to want to hold a madness card, use it, and you'll have a 3/3 that is going to trade with anything that your opponent's going to be able to throw in front of it, or just run over whatever your opponent's going to throw in front of it. I like this quite a bit.
Yep.
I call it a B.
I called it a C+.
I think I'm not going to hold on to it. I'm going to play it on turn 2.
A 3/3 for 2 at the expense of discarding the worst card in your hand.
Yeah.
Seems okay.
Yeah. Seems pretty good to me.
Yeah.
Rancid Rats.
Rats.
1 and a black for common zombie rats. They're a 1/1 with Skulk and Death Touch.
Weird.
It's really weird, right? Like, 1/1 for 1 with Death Touch is a common card.
Mm-hmm.
It's Typhoid Rats or...
AKA the pain in the ass.
Whatever, yeah.
Yeah.
But throwing Skulk on for an extra mana seems almost like a downside to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they can't block it with anything bigger than 1 toughness. Now, not that they were probably going to, but how does that help anything?
Yeah. I think this is a good target for equipment.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I can see that. At 2 mana, I am less... I'm a little more hesitant to play them than at 1 mana. But,
I still gave it a C because it is something you can leave on your battlefield that is going to make them think twice about swinging with their 7/7.
okay. I give it a C-. Rotten Heart Ghoul is a common zombie, a 2/4 for 3 and a black. And when it dies, target player discards a card. So, yeah. Lame.
It's okay.
D plus.
I gave it a C. It's fine. It's a 2/4 for 4.
Sure.
It might help you enable something if you don't have something better to do that with. You know what? C-.
All right.
Because there's so much that does that.
Yeah. Like, you can pick and choose for the most part, I think.
That's great art.
It is. That is some seriously cool art. Sanitarium Skeleton.
Ooh.
Is single black for a 1/2 common skeleton. Not a zombie. For 2 and a black, you get the skeleton ability. You get to return it from your graveyard, to your hand.
To your hand. Not as good. However...
Lame.
However...
It is a 1-drop.
No. Also, think bigger.
Mm-hmm.
However, it can be a returnable discard card. Discard a card, blah, 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 blah.
Oh.
I just realized that, because I was like, C-. Wait a minute.
I didn't read it carefully. I thought it was just the skeleton ability, return it to the battlefield.
No. So this is a reusable madness trigger?
Well, no, not madness. But if you don't have madness and you need to discard, yeah. So it's a reusable discard card. Yeah, okay. I still only give it like a D+.
I give it a C-.
If I want one, I'm going to know that I'm going to want one, and I'm going to pick one up.
That's why I'm enjoying the set so much, because there's so many little differences. Like, you can... Oh, wait. But you could use it like this.
But if you want it, you're going to know about it.
Oh, for sure.
Stallion of Ashmouth.
The 5-legged horse.
Weird.
Uh-huh.
Huh. That one slipped through,
Or maybe it didn't.
Art. 3 and a black for a 3/3 Nightmare Horse at common. I was going to say that's really groovy art, but...
It's really lovely, but it has...
5 legs.
5 legs.
Okay. So a 3/3 for 4, we've already said we like that fine, especially at common. It's fine. It's got Delirium. For 1 and a black, it gets +1/+1 till end of turn.
Yeah.
And you can do that as many times as you want. So it's got the shade ability, I guess, is what that is. So that's good, because threat of activation is definitely a thing.
Yep.
There. Probably put it at a C+.
I give it a C.
Okay.
It'll go up if we find out that delirium is always going to be something that is fairly simple to get going.
Okay. Fair enough. I like shades.
Yeah.
Stromkirk Mentor.
Whoa.
3 and a black for a 4/2 vampire soldier at common. So it's another 4/2 for 4. When Stromkirk Mentor enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on another target vampire you control. So it's kind of like a 5/3 for 4, except not.
Yeah.
You need another creature.
Another vampire.
It needs to be a vampire.
Yeah.
Which shouldn't be terribly difficult. If I've already got the 1-drop and the 2-drop, then I'm going to pick this guy up.
Mm-hmm.
I think vampires look fun to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try them out. On his own, I think this guy is a straight C.
That's what I gave him, yeah. I think it goes up from there if you, as you said, there are 12 common and uncommon vampires in total.
Yes.
So if you're it's likely that you're going to pick up other ones, but yeah.
Okay. Tooth Collector.
Let's first take a look at this way back art.
This is the weirdest art.
It's like 10 years ago art. It's kind of awesome.
10? More like 15, 20.
Yeah.
How old is Magic now?
It's pretty
But
neat.
it's wild.
Yeah, I like him. He's pretty cool.
Yeah, alright. So he's an uncommon human rogue for 2 and a black, a 3/2. 3/2 for 3. And when he enters the battlefield, target creature an opponent controls gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Normally not that exciting, but the amount of 1 toughness creatures and spirit tokens that are floating around, that seems
Really good.
really good.
Yeah.
Now he's got Delirium. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, target creature that player controls gets -1/-1 until end of turn, if you've got Delirium.
That could just decimate somebody's board state.
Yeah, it could ruin their 1-drops. It could make their bigger things not really viable as
A
attackers.
little less bitey? Yeah.
Now, it doesn't happen on your upkeep, it happens on their upkeep, so it's not helping you attack at all.
No, but it's helping. It's
But
hurting their attacks.
it still seems like a fairly strong ability. I like this guy. I gave him a C+.
Yeah, I could see that. When I first read through, I did the creatures first, and I hadn't looked at all of the creatures, and I wasn't quite as aware of how many
1 toughness.
1 toughness there were. So I really think a C+ is probably where he sits.
It'd take out a spirit token. I think the vampire tokens are 1/1s too. But, yeah, I like it.
Yeah, he's pretty cool.
Twins of Maror Estate.
Oh, that art.
I love the art. I love the concept. I'm not
It's
sure how I
shining.
feel about the card. 4 and a black for a creature at common vampire. It's a 3/5 for 5. But it's got madness of 2 and a black. So if you madness it, you can bring it into the field for 3. This seems very balanced. Like, this doesn't seem broken at all.
No, I gave it a C.
Um,
It seems fine.
I gave it a C-, but I'm probably wrong. It's probably just a C.
I
It's
think
just,
the art gets a B+ though, because that's pretty fantastic art.
yeah,
It scores on the creepometer.
yeah, definitely.
They look like the twins from The Shining, almost.
I was thinking Claudia,
Oh, yeah.
but yeah, it's fine. I'm gonna probably pick one up late and run one in any deck, so C is exactly
It's fine.
where it goes. Last black creature, Vampire Noble. 2 and a black for a common vampire, and she's a 3/2.
It's a C. Perfectly fine.
I give her a D+.
I gave her a C because vampires are going to be a thing. So
Okay.
the vampire will matter. She can have that +1 counter put on her.
That's true.
You know, so yeah.
Yeah, I just want something better.
Fair enough. But if
She's-
you're in the vampire deck, that will be something better.
She's filler.
Yeah, she's filler for sure.
So that was black. Black looked exciting. I liked black. I
Black was
thought
pretty
black
cool.
was really interesting. 4 humans, 3 spirits, 5 zombies, and 6 vampires, for those keeping count.
That's pretty cool.
Anything else to say about black?
No, I'm excited. I like black.
Right, moving right along. Blood Mad Vampires, our first red creature.
And it's a vampire.
It is a vampire.
And look, a 1/.
It's a 4/1 for 2 and a red. Vampire Berserker at common. Whenever Blood Mad Vampire deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on it. That was, I believe, the vampire mechanic from the first Innistrad, first
Okay.
go round. Whenever it got through, you put a counter on it. Now, at 3 mana and 1 toughness, that's kind of a tall order.
Yeah.
But if you madness it somehow, you can get it in for 2.
Yeah.
Now, that's not likely to happen on turn 2. It's likely to happen on turn 4 or something. Still, it's got a heck of a punch. It'll trade up. It'll trade down.
Could be equipped.
Could be equipped. I think I want to give it a C-.
I gave it a C.
Okay.
I'm a sucker for type.
I'm just not impressed, but I could be wrong.
I mean, it comes down, then you drop your dude that gives +1 to another vampire, and suddenly it's a little more viable, and blah, 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 blah.
5/2, yeah.
There could be some shenanigans. But again, it belongs in a certain deck.
Yeah. Breakneck Rider is our second red creature. 1 red. We haven't had many double mana casting costs. 1 red for a 3/3. So 3/3 for 3. That's good.
Really nice. Yeah,
Human Scout Werewolf at uncommon. And at the beginning of each upkeep, if no spells were cast last turn, transform Breakneck Rider. That is the werewolf clause. You'll see that on werewolf clause.
No!
You'll see that on every single werewolf in the set. But if you manage to transform it, transforms into Neckbreaker, a creature werewolf. It's a 4/3, and attacking creatures you control get +1/+0 and have trample. So it attacks as a 5/3 with trample. And at 3 mana to cast it, I think this is probably going to be a star in that deck.
Yup.
It also looks like a star in the red-white humans deck.
Yeah.
So I gave it a B.
I gave it a C+, but I could definitely see it being a B.
I just think it's real good.
Yeah.
Convicted Killer. 2 and a red for a human werewolf at common. And it's a 2/2.
It's a werewolf bear. No,
It
it's
is.
not. No, it's not. It's 3 and a...
Yeah,
3.
right.
Yeah.
Um, so it's a 2/2 for 3, which is meh.
It's alright.
But when it transforms into a 4/4 for 3. So it's hovering on either side of the vanilla test, which puts it, for me, at a solid C.
Solid C. Yep.
Not much more. It's going to be mainstay of that sort of deck. Ember Eye Wolf.
Look at that art. Picture that foil.
Oh, that's going to be...
It's going to be gorgeous. Yeah.
1 and a red for a common wolf. It's a 1/2 with haste. So that's sort of bland. But you can pay 1 and a red to give it +2/+0 until end of turn. That's also sort of bland. It's expensive to pay for, but it does have that threat of activation, and it will likely get in if you're on the play, because it is a 1/2 with haste.
What I like is not early game. What I like is late game, when you've got a bunch of mana, it's sitting in your hand, and they think they're safe because, and suddenly you drop this and you can swing in and pump it up. And
yeah, all right. I put it as C- because I
gave it a C.
Okay.
I'm really liking these.
It may even be a D+ for me. It's not exciting to me.
What I'm finding really fun and interesting, and something Wizards is doing a little differently, is taking these, oh my god, it's turn 12 and I'm top decking a 1/2, this sucks so bad, and giving it a little more versatility. And we've seen it in 3 of the colors so far.
The fact that it has haste.
Exactly. If it weren't for the haste,
Yeah.
But the haste is kind of cool.
Gatstaff Arsonists. 4 and a red for a common human werewolf. It's a 5/4.
Okay.
And when it transforms, it becomes a 6/5 with menace.
Ooh.
So 4 and a red for a 5/4. That's actually pretty good. Like that's reasonable at common.
Yep.
6/5 with menace. That packs a punch.
Yeah.
They might have to even put 3 things in front of it to trade with it.
Yeah.
So I had it as C+, but I think I'm going to move it up to a B-.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, that menace, I think, is what makes it...
It's the 5-drop I want.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, menace is really good. Where do you put it?
I had put it at a C, because I was like, eh. But that menace,
Big
I think...
creatures don't appeal to you so much.
No, but that menace really does, and I think that makes all the difference. That makes trading... Like, if they want to block and kill it... Yeah, I like it. It's pretty cool.
Gibbering Fiend. This is our first devil.
They're so cute.
1 and a red for an uncommon devil. It's a 2/1. And when it enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to each opponent.
Cool.
At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, if you have Delirium, it deals 1 damage to that player. I like it.
I do too.
It's a piker. It's a 2/1 for 2, and it shocks your opponent. It doesn't kill creatures, but it deals damage to your opponent directly. And if you've got Delirium, so later in the game, it does that repeatedly, so it doesn't even have to attack.
Yeah.
It's good for double blocking. It's good for trading with bears or possibly 3 and 4 drops. We've seen a lot of 1 and 2 toughness creatures. So I put it at a C+.
As did I.
All right. Howlpack Wolf. 2 and a red for a 3/3 wolf. That's fine.
Yep.
At common. Howlpack Wolf can't block unless you control another wolf or werewolf. That's fine. Didn't want to block with it anyway.
Yep. Yeah, I give it a C.
It's a 3/3 for 3. I think it's a C+.
Okay.
That being said, if you don't have a wolf or werewolf and you want to block, you can't, which is a real downside. But in red, you hope to be swinging.
Yeah.
Hulking Devil is
A big dude.
4 and a red for a 5/2 devil at common. That's Cobblebrute from Ravnica or Return to Ravnica, or yeah. So we've seen this guy before. He's not terribly exciting, but he's fine.
I give him a C. He's fine.
He's kind of a glass cannon. I'm going to give him a D+.
But he will smash their bigger creature.
Yeah, but he'll
Swoosh.
also die to a bear.
That's true.
Incorrigible Youths. 3 red for an uncommon vampire. It's a 4/3 with haste. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's also got madness of 2 and a red. So for 2 and a red, you get a 4/3 with haste if you use madness. I think that's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
At 5 mana, I think it's still pretty good. You're beating in for 4 right away, like right now. So I put it at a solid C.
As did I.
All right. Insolent Neonate. Another 1-drop. 1/1 for 1 in red. Common vampire with menace. And you can discard a card and sacrifice Insolent Neonate to draw a card. I think this is going to be surprisingly good.
This is your madness enabler. Your cheap madness enabler.
Yep. You can drop him on turn 1 if you have him and get in for maybe 3 damage because he's got menace.
Do you remember the card we saw not that long ago that you were like, I don't know at turn 2 or 3 if you're going to be able to hit your madness? There it is.
That's true. So this will make that deck a lot quicker.
Mm-hmm.
So discard a card and sacrifice it to draw a card.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yep.
If you've got madness.
Yeah.
If you're not looking for madness, I don't think I'd want him unless I was heavy vampires, in which case you hope to hit him with counters.
Mm.
But I think he's a C+. I think he's going to be surprisingly good.
Yeah.
I think he's going to enable a couple of different decks.
Yeah.
Where did you put him at?
I put him in a C, but I
Okay.
think a C+ is probably more likely the case in the deck that wants it.
Yeah. Also the art. He looks like such a fop.
Such a ponce.
Kessig Forge Master. 1 and a red for a 2/1 human shaman werewolf at uncommon. Whenever Kessig Forge Master blocks or becomes blocked by a creature, Kessig Forge Master deals 1 damage to that creature. That right there, I would play. It attacks, it blocks and becomes blocked as a 3/1.
Yep.
Which means it'll trade up, down, and sideways.
We've seen that card before. Recently.
We have. A couple of times. It will probably make them less inclined to block unless they've got a wanted. Oh no, because they can't even double or triple block it with spirits, because it deals 1 damage to each creature that blocks it.
Yep.
So it's almost like giving it a little bit of first strike.
Yeah.
It really disincentivizes your opponent from blocking. And when it becomes a werewolf, so if no spells were cast on a turn, it becomes a 3/2, and whenever it blocks or becomes blocked by a creature, it deals 2 damage to that creature. So not even bears can block it.
Yeah.
So that'll trade with 5 toughness creatures.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
This is my only B+.
Really?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
At common and uncommon.
Yeah.
I think it's just very strong.
Yeah. I underestimated it when I read it.
It's going to pull me strongly into that color.
Yeah?
If it's still in the back.
Yeah, I could see that.
I'm going to pick it highly. I might think about first picking it in a week pack.
Wow. Yeah. I could see that.
Where did you put it?
I'd put it at a C.
Hmm.
Go back?
I think it's a little better than that.
Yeah. Yeah. If you can get him transformed, he's a beastly beast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you've dragged me over to your side.
Okay. Mad Prophet. This is a reprint from Avacyn Restored.
Interesting.
3 and a red for an 2/2 human shaman at uncommon with haste. and you can tap him and discard a card to draw a card. So that is rummaging. He's a rummager. He's
That's
a madness enabler. He's got haste, so you can do it the turn he comes into play. Although, if you're paying 4 for him, what more are you going to be able to do? But I like this this guy. I think he's just a C.
I gave him a C as well.
I think there are better things, but he's a good backup plan.
His art is creepy because it's quite realistic, and he's like right there in your face. He's like grabbing you, like, listen to me.
Yeah. He's the village bell ringer, the town crier, but gone a little crazy. Pyre Hound. 3 and a red for a common elemental hound. I'm surprised this isn't a devil. It's a 2/3 for 4 with trample. Do your 2-power creatures usually have trample? No. So whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Pyre Hound.
Yeah, that can get out of control.
That's interesting. It could get out of control. But it's sort of a deck-dependent thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wouldn't pick this one highly, but I would look to picking it up if I was going heavily instant or sorcery related, so a blue-red deck or something of that sort.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a C-, just because I don't think it's going to see a lot of play.
I gave him a C because I've already peeked ahead and I know how many really good red combat tricks are in this set.
Okay.
And I think that there's going to be more instants and sorceries flying about than... Especially, you know, you swing with them, you cast your combat trick, he gets a counter, it's going to mess up combat math.
And he gets trampled.
Yeah.
All right, maybe I'll bump him up to a C then.
I want to try him out and see.
Fair enough. Ravenous Bloodseeker. I think we've already seen a Ravenous Bloodsucker card.
Yeah.
So, Ravenous Bloodseeker is 1 and a red for a 1/3 Vampire Berserker at uncommon. And for the price of discarding a card, he gets +2, -2 until end of turn. So he goes from a 1/3 to a 3/1.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
It is.
So you can use that to activate Madness, to enable Madness. You can use that to trade up in combat. As it stands, he can't really be chumped affordably. So he's fine. His stats aren't exciting, but the fact that the cost of his ability is discard a card brings him up to a C+ in my estimation.
Yeah, if you have any cards in hand and they attack, you can, you know, discard that card and suddenly he's doing 3 damage. And that's something that, again, that threat of activation.
It's another thing we haven't talked about with Madness, but when a creature has Madness, if you've got some free way of discarding a card at instant speed, you're then giving that creature flash.
Yeah.
Which is sweet. So they're going to be very nervous about attacking you when you've got cards in hand.
Yeah.
So where did you put him?
I gave him a C, I believe.
Okay.
Yep, C.
Sanguinary Mage is another 1/3 for 2, a vampire wizard at common. And she's got prowess. So we've seen that before, haven't we? A 1/3 for 2 with prowess?
Yeah, in blue.
Something like that? Yeah.
Blue's a blue one.
This is less exciting to me. Prowess is definitely an upside, but not something that I put a lot of value in.
Yeah.
So I'd put this, I think, at a D. I'm not going to play it a lot.
I gave it a C because it's 1 of 6 vampires in red.
Okay, fair enough.
But only again. I mean, that changes
Only in
if
the
you're
vampire
not
deck?
running a vampire deck, yeah.
I like the art. I like
Yeah.
the sort of blazing torch thing she's
Yeah.
got
going on
there. Skin Invasion. This is awesome. So this is an enchantment, but we put it here with the creatures because
it does a thing.
It does a thing. For a single red, you can cast Skin Invasion. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature attacks each combat if able. When enchanted creature dies, return Skin Invasion to the battlefield transformed under your control. Now, before we get into that, I think this is better than it looks. For a single red, you attach it to, let's say, a utility creature that they don't want to attack with. Well, no, that's not a good example, because they could just tap it pre-combat or what have you. But something that they can't just tap down, that you want to get rid of, or even just a token that you can block and kill.
Yeah.
And there's nothing they can do about it. So it's quasi-removal. And when that creature dies, you get a 3/4.
Which is just really good.
You've paid a single red mana, you've hopefully killed one of their creatures, and you have a 3/4.
Yeah.
I put this as a B-.
It should be I think it should be in the B range, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. B-, I think so.
It takes a little bit of finagling, but I think it's going to be worth it. Ulrich's Kindred. 2 and a red for an uncommon wolf. It's a 3/2 with trample. Sure. For 3 and a green, target attacking wolf or werewolf gains indestructible until end of turn. That's an activated ability I can get behind.
Yep. If you're running a green-red deck, that's a good reason to run a green-red deck.
Yep. Werewolves are found in red-green. A friend of mine used to have a deck he called Duct Tape, which was a werewolf deck. And in this case, threat of activation is key. Wherever they put lethal damage is where you get to put the indestructible.
Yeah.
And that is a solid benefit. Probably a B-.
Yeah, I put it at the C+, only for the reason of it has to be in a werewolf deck, or with wolves, and it has to be in green and red.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the things. That said, this is one of those cards that if it comes across my desk early, it may make me go into red-green werewolves.
Yeah. As I recall from hearing people talk about it, I don't think werewolves was an easy deck to get into, like having a lot of werewolves, but there are enough wolves running around that could be relevant.
Well, it suddenly makes that wolf, the generic wolf that we saw, a lot better. The vanilla 3/1.
I'm not surprised they didn't reprint Dark Thicket Wolf, because it was very strong in that deck.
I remember that card. Alright.
Village Messenger. A 1/1 for 1. Human... Oh, werewolf. Interesting. At uncommon. With haste. So a 1/1 with haste for 1 is fine. Probably not worth running on its own.
Although in this set again, 1/1s.
Yeah. And having something to do on turn 1 is an interesting place to be.
Yeah.
But it is a werewolf, which means it'll transform
into Dum-da-lum.
Moonrise Intruder, which is a werewolf. It's a 2/2 with menace. Interesting. So here's how I see this breaking down. You're on the play. You cast it on turn 1. Your opponent plays a land.
Yeah.
You immediately get to transform it into a 2/2 with menace.
Yeah.
They play a land and a 2-drop creature. You've already swung for 2. You swing for another 2. Before they play their third creature, you've dealt 4 to them.
Yeah.
That's if you're on the play and it's in your opening hand.
Yeah.
That seems pretty good.
I still gave it a C-.
I give it a C+.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Because it just gets worse from there.
It reminds me of Again, I don't remember the name of it from the original Innistrad, but Cloistered Youth, maybe?
Okay.
It was a 1-drop that became a 3/3 when it transformed.
That's really good.
And it was just a quick clock.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Voldaren Duelist is our last red creature. 3 and a red for a common vampire warrior. It's a 3/2. 3/2 for 4 with haste. And when it enters the battlefield, target creature can't block this turn. Interesting.
Yep.
So it'll get something out of the way, possibly get in for 3 itself, possibly enable an alpha strike. That seems decent.
Yep.
You give it a C.
I gave it a C.
Solid C.
Good old C.
All right, so that was red. There were only 5 1-toughness creatures in red.
Okay.
Interesting.
Still a lot more than the average set.
6 vampires, 6 humans, 5 werewolves, 2 devils. I thought devils were going to be more of a thing, but maybe not.
When we get into instants and sorceries, you'll see that devil count climb.
Okay, good to know.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine there are a bunch of rare devils, or probably at least a couple.
Yeah, I would think.
So what did you think of red?
It was really interesting.
Looks very aggressive.
Yes. We've got something to pair our black vampires with.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got the start of a werewolf thing going.
Werewolf thing, maybe a red-blue sort of...
Instant and sorcery deck.
Yeah.
Some devil shenanigans.
Yeah, maybe. All right, moving on to green.
Green! Now, is green going to be a thing this time? Let's hope so.
I think so. I think so.
It's been a while
Green
since
White
green's
was the
been green.
best deck in Innistrad.
That's
So-
super cool. So let's hope.
I'm going to look forward to that, but we'll wait till the instants and sorceries to find out.
All right.
Our first green creature is not a creature.
It's an enchantment. What the heck?
Autumnal Gloom. 2 and a green for an enchantment at uncommon. It's got black. Put the top card of your library into your graveyard.
Cool.
That stinks. But if you have Delirium, at the beginning of your end step, transform it. And
Dun, dun, dun.
transform into a 4/4 with trample and hexproof.
That's gross.
It's a tree folk.
Yeah.
That's a strong creature,
Yep. He's pretty cool.
but it's a lot to be in 2 colors, to ask to be in 2 colors, and get no other benefit than milling yourself a bunch of times. So I gave it a D-.
Really?
Yeah, I don't like it.
I gave it a C.
Okay.
Because it's an enchantment, right?
Yes.
Okay,
And
it's
if
3
it-
for a 4/4 with hexproof and trample.
Sort of, except you've got to do some work for that.
You have to have delirium, so he's going to be in a delirium deck regardless.
Yes.
So, yeah, I still think it's okay.
Okay.
We'll see.
Well, time will tell on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think in Constructed, it definitely goes up.
Mm-hmm.
I think in Limited, it's just not going to do what you want it to do. Briar Bridge Patrol.
Okay.
3 and a green for a 3/3. Human warrior at uncommon. That's fine. She's looking pretty nasty there with her big sword and her big dog. And her big bearskin cloak or antler cloak or whatever.
Something.
Whenever Briar Bridge Patrol deals damage to 1 or more creatures, investigate. At the beginning of each end step, if you sacrificed 3 or more clues this turn, you may put a creature card from your hand onto the battlefield.
So there is a we want lots of clues matters card.
There is an investigate card, yes. Now, if you sacrifice 3 or more clues this turn, so if you're sacking them to draw cards, that's 6 mana.
Yeah.
So you pay 6 mana, draw 3 cards, and then put a creature from your hand onto the battlefield. Yeah,
Still pretty okay.
that's a lot of setup
Mm-hmm.
to ask.
The clue sacking could also be. There are some things that ask you to sack
Yep. There are other ways to do it for sure. But I'm more just looking at her as a 3/3 for 4 that when she's blocked or blocks, you get a clue. So that's
fine. Hey, don't get me wrong, I gave her a C because the damage has to be to a creature.
I'm going to give her a C+ because if the damage isn't done to that creature, then that means I've just dealt 3 to my opponent, and I'm okay with that.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But yeah, not. It's interesting, but not exciting.
Dancing. Yeah.
Byway Courier. I love that outfit. Check out that cloak.
Cosplay.
2 and a green for a 3/2 human scout at common. When she dies, investigate.
Sure.
And at 2 toughness, she's probably going to die.
Yeah. She's fine.
Yeah.
I gave her a C.
I gave her a C-. I just don't think she's going to be a high pick for me.
Nah.
Cult of the Waxing Moon.
Ooh.
4 and a green for a 5/4 human shaman at uncommon. So 4 and a green for a 5/4. Whenever a permanent you control transforms into a non-human creature, so that could be into a werewolf, into a vampire, into anything that's non-human, you put a 2/2 green wolf creature token onto the battlefield.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a linchpin, and not a linchpin, but a certainly very strong addition, especially to a wolf deck. Because it's whenever a permanent transforms, so you don't have to do anything. This can just sit, being all big and beefy on your side of the field. It doesn't even have to attack or block. So
it's obviously meant for the red-green werewolf deck, but I actually think it's going to find kind of a niche in maybe a black-green.
You think Golgari could be a thing?
I don't know, but it's possible. I don't know.
That would make that enchantment that turns into a creature that we looked at earlier better.
So, where to put it? It's a 5/4 for 5 on its own. It might get you some upside, assuming that you have things that transform in your deck. I'm going to put it at a C+.
I gave it a C+.
If you don't have anything that transforms, I'm going to put it at a D+.
Yeah.
Duskwatch Recruiter. 1 and a green for a 2/2 human warrior werewolf.
It's a werewolf bear. There we go. There's the werewolf bear.
It's not a werebear.
It's a werebear!
2 and a green. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. That's pretty sweet.
Yep.
At the beginning of each upkeep, if no spells were cast last turn, transform it. So it's a 2/2 for 2 with a pretty sweet upside already.
Yep.
What would you say about just a 2/2 that allowed you to draw a card for 3 mana?
I would put it at a C+ regardless. Yeah, that's pretty strong.
So it then becomes Krallen Horde Howler, which is a werewolf, a 3/3, and the creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast.
Nice.
I think this is very strong. I'd put it at a solid B.
Yeah, I think it deserves to be up there at a B.
I think if you're casting spells, you're fine with having a 2/2.
Yeah.
And if you decide to not cast any spells and, say, activate his ability twice, then you're likely to have a creature or 2 the next turn when they're cheaper to cast.
Definitely belongs in a creature-heavy deck.
Yeah.
But he's really good.
Gloom Widow. This is another reprint. I believe from one of Innistrad block somewhere.
Oh, there's our Reachy Spider.
Avison Restored. Oh, it was originally in Shadowmoor. Interesting. So, yeah. Spiders have reach. They all seem to have reach,
Yep.
even though they should all have infect, but that's just me. 2 and a green for a 3/3 with reach.
3/3 for 3.
Solid.
Notice it's text, though.
The uncommon spider that can block only creatures with flying. So it's not going to be blocking on the ground. It will block very well in the air.
Yeah.
And
Or it can attack.
It can attack. And a 3/3 for 3 is a pretty good attacker. I'm going to give it a B-.
I gave it a C+.
A C+.
Apparently I can't talk today.
Graph Mole. Hang in there, we're almost at the end.
He's so cute.
Graph Mole is an uncommon mole beast. He's a 2/4 for 2 and a green. And whenever you sacrifice a clue, you gain 3 life.
Oh, I like him. And he's so cute.
Now, I was sort of down on a 2/4 for 4. A 2/4 for 3, I'm very happy with.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's got that marginal upside ability is just sort of gravy.
I gave him a C+. He's really good in a deck that has Investigate in it.
I gave him a solid C, but if I look like I'm going the Investigate route, then I'm definitely picking him up highly.
Yeah.
Groundskeeper.
Willie? We're going to call him Willie.
This is another reprint from all the way back in Mercadian Masks.
Wow.
He's a 1/1 for 1. He's a human druid at uncommon. And you can pay 1 and a green to return target basic land card from your graveyard to your hand. Which is interesting. If there are things that make you discard or sacrifice lands.
If you, I don't think there's anything that they can do to you. I think you do it.
Yeah, but if you've got those things, then pick this guy up. Otherwise, I wouldn't bother.
But chances are, if you're doing it, it's because you want that land in for that delirium.
I can't remember what it is, but there's something we saw already that sacrifice a land to do an effect.
Yeah.
And if you run out of lands, that's going to be...
Yeah, I guess so. I gave him a D-. I'm like, meh.
Yeah, I also gave him a D-.
He's very situational.
Yeah.
But his art's really cool.
Again, if you want him, you're going to know.
And I'm calling him Willie.
Hermit of the Natternals. 2 and a green for a 2/3. Human werewolf at uncommon. Whenever an opponent casts a spell during your turn, which they're going to want to do to keep your werewolves from transforming, you get to draw a card.
I know, right?
Oh, so good.
He's awesome.
This reminds me of the Lamhorn Elder from original Innistrad, who was kind of the same thing, trying to mess with your opponents who are trying to mess with you. So when he transforms, he transforms into Lone Wolf of the Natternals, who's a werewolf, a 3/5, and whenever an opponent casts a spell during your turn, draw 2 cards. So if you manage
Strict value.
Yeah. If you manage to transform your werewolves, they're going to have to make you draw 2 cards to transform them back.
And you're like, okay.
I'd be happy with that. I think I said I was only giving 1 B+, but I'm going to give this a B+ too.
Yeah, I think
This is just straight good.
he's really, really cool.
Because at a 2/3 for 3, that's fine. At a 3/5, that draws you 2 cards. I'm sorry, it would be 4 cards if they wanted to cast 2 spells to transform.
Oh, right, because, yeah, it's 2
That's
spells.
nuts.
I know.
Alright. Hinterland Logger.
She's a strong lady.
Aye.
Oh.
1 and a green for a 2/1. Human werewolf at common. And all she does is transform. Timber Shredder is a 4/2 werewolf with trample.
I gave her a C. She's fine in a werewolf deck.
Okay, so she's a 2/1 for 2, which is basically a bear. Little worse than a bear. With all the onesies running around. But if you manage to transform her, then she's a 4/2 with trample.
Yeah. fine.
I give her a B minus. I think she's very good.
We have somebody come to visit. It's not a draft, but Draft Cat is here.
Hey, Draft Cat.
Hey, buddy.
Intrepid Provisioner.
Pretty card.
3 and a green for a 3/3 human scout at common. So those are strong stats. It's got trample, even stronger stats.
Mm-hmm.
And when Intrepid Provisioner enters the battlefield, another target human you control gets +2/+2 until end of turn. This is hearkening back to travel preparations from Innistrad, the green-white deck that pretty much ruled the format. I think this is a very strong card, and I'm going to give it a B+2.
B+, really?
Look at me throwing out those B+ all over the place.
I give it a B.
You give it a B?
A B. Give it a B. Give it a B.
I think it's very strong in the human deck.
Otherwise, it's a 3/3 with trample, which is still
Not
fine.
bad.
Yeah.
Kessig Dire Swine. That's a big pig.
It's a big pig.
4 green for a 6/6 boar horror at common. So this is your big dumb creature.
Yep.
It has delirium, and its delirium is it gets trample. So
Sure.
it's still just your big dumb creature.
I gave it a C. It's a big dumb creature.
I give it a C as well. Although I do note that I think by the time you get to 6 mana, you're going to have a better time of having delirium, especially if that's what you're going for.
Yeah, for sure.
Lambhold Pacifist. 1 and a green for a 3/3 human shaman werewolf at uncommon. Lambhold Pacifist can't attack unless you control a creature with power 4 or greater. Interesting. So a 3/3 on turn 2 will hold back just about anything
It's
that's going to attack.
a 3/3 wall for 2
Mhm.
at worst. Yeah.
If you then drop a 4/2 or a 4/1 or whatever on turn 3 or 4, you can attack with it. But if you don't, it'll become a 4/4 itself. And a 4/4 for 2 seems pretty strong. I'm going to give it a B, because I think it looks like the werewolf deck is seeing some pretty
So that's
good
something
support.
you'll see and you'll be like, ooh, I'm taking this and I'm going werewolves.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. I gave it a C+.
Okay.
Because I'm more like, oh, cool, this will be great in the werewolf deck that I've already started building.
Loam Dryad. A single green for a 1/2 Dryad Horror at common. She looks pretty scary. You can tap her and tap an untapped creature you control to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool.
Yep.
I don't like her.
No?
No. I haven't seen a lot of reason to go 3 colors or splash really at all.
Yeah.
If you do want to splash, she's probably a fine way of doing it, but a 1/2 for 1 doesn't excite me, and having to tap 2 of my creatures to generate a mana also doesn't excite me.
Yeah. I gave it a C- because I think it's situational anyway.
I give her a D+. That being said, if I do want to splash something, she's probably going to make my deck.
Being common, that's pretty cool too. Yeah.
Moldgraph Scavenger is 1 and a green for an 0/4. A fungus at common.
It's a mushroom.
It's a mushroom. It's a myconid. It's got delirium. It gets +3/+0. And that's it. So it's a 3/4 for 2 if you have delirium.
It's cool.
Seems good. An 0/4 will do a lot of blocking early. So I give it a C+.
I give it a C.
Okay. Obsessive Skinner.
Uh-oh, he's got some problems. He's a little obsessive, is he?
So we've got We've got Groundskeeper Willie and Principal Skinner.
Principal Skinner. There we go.
1 and a green for a 1/1 human rogue at uncommon. When Obsessive Skinner enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. So worst case, he's a bear. He's a 2/2 for 2.
Yeah.
If you have Delirium, at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature.
So I have to admit, I have to confess that I missed him in my review.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I don't know how I missed him, but I went from MPQ, so he's really cool, interesting.
I like
guy.
him.
Yeah.
I'd put him at a B-, because a 2/2 for 2 is a C. Being able to move that 1/+1 puts him around a C+, and then the idea of having the Delirium bumps him all the way up to a B- for me.
For me, I see that and I go, okay, now's the time to build that Delirium deck, because this could get kooky pretty quick.
We're now seeing in green, it looks like green is the Delirium color.
Interesting.
Maybe green-blue?
Green, blue, green, black.
Pack Guardian. 2 green, so 4 mana, for a 4/3. Wolf Spirit at uncommon, with Flash.
Oh, I love
4/3 for 4 is playable.
Yeah.
With Flash, it's strong. And then when Pack Guardian enters the battlefield, you may discard a land card. If you do, put a 2/2 green wolf creature onto the battlefield.
This guy's going into my Delirium deck. Like, I want him for that deck, because you're going to be able to get that land into your graveyard.
I don't think you're going to have much trouble with that.
Yeah,
But the fact that you can use a land you don't need to make a 2/2,
yeah,
I like it.
it's really good. And the art is really weird.
Yeah.
His face is really funky.
It's a wolf spirit. You can also see the little wolf there in the back.
Aw.
Behind him. So, I give him B-.
Yeah, I agree.
I think green creatures are looking very good. And I'm happy about that.
Yeah, I'm excited about green.
Alright, we're almost there. Quilled Wolf.
Oh, I like him. He looks like a porcupine wolf.
1 and a green for a 2/2. Wolf at common. A lot of wolves, so that's good. 5 and a green. He gets +4/+4 until end of turn.
We saw something like this in the last set very recently.
Yeah. It wasn't as playable because its base stats weren't good. I don't remember what it was.
It was like a 2/2 or something. You used to play them. You played them in your league deck.
Did I?
Yeah, but it was 8 that it costs.
Oh, the Invoker.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This guy's chipper,
This guy's fine. If you have nothing else to do with your mana, that's fine.
and he's good in the wolf deck.
One thing to note too, if you do have things to do with your mana, but you don't want to cast spells, this is a good thing to put that mana into.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you want to, say, transform your werewolves.
Yeah.
It's nice to have something to do with a lot of mana. So I put him at a C+.
Yep.
Solitary Hunter. 3 and a green for a 3/4 human warrior werewolf at common. So 3 and a green for a 3/4 is okay.
Yeah, he's alright.
How about 3 and a green for a 5/6?
It's pretty good.
I think I'd put him at a C+.
Yeah, I had him at a C, but I think I'm underestimating the impact
werewolves?
of werewolves. Yeah, I didn't play with them, so...
They're tricky to get to work.
And that's
because
my thing, is I don't quite get a handle on that yet.
it's important when you're dealing with werewolves, like it just said, to have other things to do with your mana. So having clues to sacrifice or having creatures to pump is helpful,
Yeah.
because you don't want to be casting a bunch of spells.
No.
Stoic Builder. Strong man of the forest. 2 and a green for a common human 2/3. When he enters the battlefield, you may return target land from your graveyard to your hand. Now that's a may, so if you're going to lose Delirium, you don't have to do it. But if you've sacrificed too many land and you need an extra land, it's not a bad little bonus. I put him, I think, at a C minus.
C minus.
Awesome.
He's situational.
There's better things, but he's going to be fine. I like the art.
Yeah.
I think he looks like a dependable chap. Thornhide Wolves.
Those are mean-looking little things.
4 and a green for 4/5 wolf at common, and that's it.
Yeah.
So 4 and a green, 5 mana for a 4/5.
Meh. Yeah.
Filler.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a C minus.
That's exactly what I gave it.
Veteran Cathar. 1 and a green for a 2/2 human soldier at uncommon. So it's a bear. For 4 and a white, or 3 and a white, target human gains double strike until end of turn.
This is the first card in green so far that I've thought, oh, paired with white.
There was something else that had a white activated ability, but not.
I thought it had a black activated ability.
There was something with a black activated ability too.
Oh. I don't know. So, yeah.
But
if you are playing in green and white, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
I think that's going to be very good in the green-white humans deck.
Yeah. I gave it a C, but I did note right here, better in the right deck.
I give it a C plus.
Yeah.
Because I think that ability is strong.
Mm-hmm.
Just the threat of activation is strong.
Yeah.
All right, and our last green creature is Watcher of the Web. I love this guy. Watcher in the Web. 4 and a green for a common spider. He's a 2/5 with reach, and he can block an additional 7 creatures each combat.
That's so neat.
He's the master of blocking. He can hold off spirit tokens all day long. He can double or triple block any number of X1s, and your opponent's going to lose 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's great. I put him at a C+.
Yeah.
I don't think he's particularly good on the offensive.
No.
So I didn't give him any higher than that, but I do think he's good. And I want to pick one up if I'm in green.
Yeah, he's pretty neat.
So that's green. What did you think of green?
I'm excited because it seems like green's back. Green is back.
Back again.
Yay.
Now, there were only 5 werewolves in green.
It felt like so much more because there were wolves.
But there were
as
a lot
well.
of wolves. I should have counted the wolves, but there were a lot of them. There were 13 humans.
Yeah.
So white-green humans is going to be a thing. And red-green werewolves is going to be a thing.
Yeah.
And black-green may have some support. I don't know. And blue-green might be a thing. It looks like the colors are very well balanced.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like there's going to be easy color pairings and more intricate color pairings, and I kind of like that. So, I guess we go on to the artifact creatures.
Okay. Let me turn my pages.
There aren't many of them, but I kind of like what there are.
Okay.
Epitaph Golem is our first artifact creature.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 3/5 for 5, which we've
Yep.
already said is fine. For 2 mana, put target card from your graveyard on the bottom of your library. So if you look like you're going to be milling yourself out, this is a good a backup plan, I guess. But really, he's just filler.
Yeah.
He's not going to be my first choice for a 5-drop, but he's also far from the bottom. I put him at a C.
I gave him a C minus.
I like it. Harvest Hand is 2/2 Scarecrow. What was this guy? A golem. Uncommon Scarecrow for 3 mana. And when he dies, return him to the battlefield, transformed under your control. So he's not going to help with Delirium.
No.
Because he's going to be on the battlefield. When he transforms, he becomes an equipment that gives equipped creature +1/+1, and if it's a human, it has menace.
That's pretty cool.
And equipped for 2.
Interesting mechanic there. Kind of like him.
Yeah. I think he's a C.
Yeah.
In the human deck, probably a C+.
That's pretty much what I said.
Groovy. Runaway Carriage is next. It's a 5/6 with trample for 4. It's an uncommon construct. And when it attacks or blocks, sacrifice it at end of combat. Now that's interesting. It only gets to attack or block once.
But it gets tossed into the bin for your delirium.
So if I'm in the delirium deck, I think I actively want to take one of these.
Yeah.
If not, then I really don't care. It's not something I want in the deck. So I put it as C-. Just because it's sort of in the middle there. If I'm in delirium, I want one. If I'm not, it's more like a D-.
Yeah, I don't think I'd run it unless...
Or an F, yeah.
I wouldn't run it unless...
Unless you want delirium.
Yeah.
3-ban Gargoyle. 1 mana for a 2/2 defender. But for 6 mana, you can transform it into a 4/2 with flying.
That's pretty cool.
It's cool. I don't know how good it is. Again, if you're looking at delirium, then a 2/2 defender might be something you want.
Yeah, because it's easy to block and get it into the bin.
But I still think it's a D, basically.
Yeah, I can see that, yeah.
What'd you put it at?
D.
Alright. Wicker Witch is next. She's 3/1 for 3. Scarecrow at common.
Yep, I gave it a C.
I give her a D.
Yeah?
Yeah. There's better things. I don't want to play her.
Okay.
Wildfield Scarecrow.
2 scarecrows.
Is our last artifact creature at common or uncommon. It's an uncommon Scarecrow. It's a 1/4 defender for 3. You can pay 2 and sack it to search your library for up to 2 basic lands, reveal them, and put them into your hand. Then shuffle your library. This is the one that I actively want if I'm in Delirium.
Yes,
and
for
possibly
sure.
if I'm not. It fixes, it ramps, it's a strong defender. I want to put it at a C+.
Yeah, C+ for sure. What did I have in that? I believe I had in that. C+.
Important to note, all of the artifact creatures are easy to kill, so easy to get into your graveyard.
Yes.
Which is going to help Delirium quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, they're basically not worth running, except for this one.
Yeah. Do you know what I'm most excited for?
What?
Building a blue deck.
Mm-hmm.
I want to build Blue's Clues.
God.
Come on, that's amazing, right?
So thanks for watching our the first part of our set review for Shadows over Innistrad.
Yes.
We'll be back with part 2, the common and uncommon non-creature spells tomorrow. And until then, you can find us on the web at www.cardadvantagemtg.blogspot.ca.
And you can also find us other places like
Facebook?
Like Facebook, Card Advantage MTG.
Or on Twitter at MTG_CA. Thanks very much for watching.
Thanks for watching.
And we'll catch you tomorrow.